Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Author's Quill this evening. I hope everyone's having a great afternoon, especially if you're United States and you're not in one of them crazy countries that are getting bombed or blown up or some other hostile
Joe,
shit.
this is a book show. It's a book
I'm
show.
just saying,
Books, not
you
bombs,
should be grateful that you're here in the quiet, peaceful, relaxing atmosphere. Y'all missed the reveal last night, so it'll be available on our site probably tomorrow.
Hopefully later on tonight. We're working
on
it.
Right. Well, if John gets it to me today, it'll be up tonight, and y'all can go watch it there. If not, when they get it up, you can go watch it up. No, it's not on either site. Who have sent me that? No, it's not up yet, but it was up last night. But for some reason, and it's weird, I didn't get any complaints. But when I played it today, it seemed not to have audio. So if anybody was watching or listening last night, and you went across this, let me know if you actually had audio, because it's kind of weird that we didn't. Anyway. It'll be up soon enough, and y'all can go check it out. And it's going to replay in full next Friday against News on the Flip Side, so it has a better chance of actually getting out to the audience that we wanted it to reach in the first place.
Yeah.
Tonight's guest is Jack Nash. So Jack's one of these big dogs, from what I understand. So we're going to get into this right away. So Jack, welcome to Author's Quill, man. I hope you have been enjoying yourself. So first question right after one. So I know you one of the big winners. Secondly, Let's go backwards. Let's start on a smaller note. What the hell made you think you could be an author? I mean, what was it were you young? Were you a little older? I mean, you just walking one day and said, you know what, damn, I think I can write a book. Or did someone say, hey, you got talent? I'm always curious because, believe it or not, I've not interviewed probably more than 200 authors in my career, and I almost always get a different answer. So I'm just kind of curious of what yours was. What was it that drove you?
I think mine might be a little different, add to your list. So I'm a consultant. I work a lot in strategic communications. For my previous job, I was asked to write speeches and op-eds for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. For those of you who don't know, she is the former president of Liberia. She's the first woman ever elected to lead a country in Africa. She won the Nobel Peace Prize. I was asked to write some speeches for her just because no one else in my firm wanted to. She is, of course, very different from myself. She is, at the time, she was in her late 70s, from Africa, a woman, had a lot of different world experiences, but started writing speeches for her as people were talking about them in the news or reviewing what she was saying. It was snippets that I'd written that they were quoting. So I figured if I could convince everyone I was this African head of state, Nobel Peace Prize winner, what could I do if I started writing fiction? So that's what started me down this path.
Well, that's a damn interesting way to get. First off, congrats on the gig.
I mean, story too.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty nice gig. I mean, whether somebody else want to do it or not, I mean, that's somebody that's actually contributing in the world. So big hands up to you there. And still, and it's nice to see that it drove you into this direction. So, what is it? So what's your genre? What is your favorite genre to write about? Is it?
Well, the Writers of the Fiction story is a fantasy, kind of classic fantasy, different world, magic, whole bunch of fun, kooky stuff. But usually what I gravitate towards when I'm reading or in other stories I'm writing are mysteries and thrillers. But I like the ability to cross over writing. I think reading different stuff, writing different stuff, it brings one thing from one genre into whatever you're writing and makes it a little bit more unique and different.
Yeah, it sounds fun to me. And like I tell John all the time, I always love meeting y'all because I know one of y'all are going to be this multi-Stephen King guy in the future. So I want to make sure I know y'all. Well, no, you're actually in the last year, and since the first of the year, you were the third host that has told me that they kind of want to write in thrillers, and some of them more horror thrillers, but still in that let me scare you out of your seat kind of thing. So I'm too old to be scared out of my seat, so that's just not even go there. Let's leave that alone. So
let's face it, our backs are so bad we can't be scared out of our seats.
That's right. We're not jumping. We're just going to have a heart attack right there. So you get this. So where'd you see Writers of the Future? What was it? So you're walking along, you're reading the magazine, you're just seeing Writers of the Future. I'm going to submit to Writers of the Future. I mean, that's pretty egotistical to think you can win, man. I mean, come on.
He did it. So
no, it is. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
So, it's not egotistical. It's dedicated.
It is. It's when you look at this and you say, okay, I'm going to beat everybody on the planet. That takes a little courage to do such a thing. You're like, okay. And I always wonder what it is. I mean, some hosts tell me, oh, I just did it. What's the difference? Some hosts come into it saying, you know what? I got a good shot at this. I'm a good writer. I write good sci-fi, or write this or this or that, and then go. I'm just always curious to what was it, just sheer luck? I mean, because sometimes people say, oh, I just seen it and I submitted it. So I'm always curious at what drove you to write, to send this in the Writers of the Future, because I love torturing John. Emily pays me money for this, so let's keep this going. Good.
Well, it kind of came in two directions. So I found out about the contest in Orson Scott Card's his craft book, I think, Writing Fantasy and Science Fiction. He has a couple pages. I'm on the contest. I thought, well, this is interesting. I looked it up. I found their online workshop. It was great. I learned a lot. Helped me improve my craft. I thought, oh, maybe I'll submit sometime in the future when I'm better. But then one of my stories was accepted to the magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. Which was a big surprise for me. I didn't think that would happen for quite a few years. So I thought, well, if I got accepted into that magazine, I should probably try out Writers of the Future. And so I started submitting there. This was my third quarter submitting, and happy that someone liked what I was throwing in.
Yeah, so am I. Well, I can't wait to read your stories. I don't see. John will send me the book sooner or later, and I'll get it and I'll read it. So I'll read it. So I'll be familiar with all your stories on the way there. So title of the story. And then look, you can only give me 2 reasons I'm going to be reading this. I only want to hear a little tidbit, because I got to watch you authors. Sometimes I get a little carried away and just start talking. I'm like, no, stop. But really, I mean, it's a title and just a little bit. I mean, just something to be tantalizing, but nothing that can give anything out to anybody, because we have a smart audience.
Well, I'll ask John first. Am I allowed to say the title of the story?
Yes.
Okay. The gag order is over. So the title of my piece is Sun, Spirit, Snake. I'll just give you the log line that you'll see in the cover of the book. It's I believe it starts off, no one came to his brother's funeral, not even the spirits. ATM knew it was his fault. It's a story about family, belief, and tradition, and how that impacts one particular individual.
Well, this sounds like it's going to be interesting. I like to read these stories. I find one, I like to read them because I'm not inundated with sex and violence and blood and gore. It's just a story being told, which I enjoy, because and I always like a little story. I don't care how horrible or horrific a story is. If there isn't some comedy in it, I'm not going to like it. I don't care. You could be dying, falling at 800 stories, and know you're going to die, but you're still going to crack that joke before you hit the ground. Yes, I can deal with that. But if you don't know, it's not real to me, because I've been with too many people who have been in those kind of real situations, and they can't help themselves. They know they're fixing to die. They gotta crack a joke. They're just like, so I like to see that in any kind of real drama or sci-fi or anything along those lines, except, some drama can't be there. Like if you're going to eat the person's head or something like that, it's not going to really work like that. You can't really crack a joke. So how are you feeling? You pumped up? You ready? You're going to be here soon? I mean, it's getting close now. It's 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It's close. So you ready to be out in LA with all the crazies? I mean, where wait, let me ask you this. Where are you originally from?
You're coming out to
I can't look. I've been to LA, my friend.
Now I'm having the time of my life, and you're talking about you ready for the crazies, and make sure you bring a gun so that you can.
No. LA is a great place, and LA is a fun town. Actually, it's got a lot of fun. There's just a lot of crazies there. You got to know that going in. No, they're not violent crazies. They're just.
There's just some very strange and unique.
Let's just say yes.
Let's say
that.
Question: what's he looking forward to coming out here?
Oh no, everybody's looking forward to being out there. LA's a lot of fun to hang out in.
Definitely looking forward to being out there. Looking forward to the workshop. That was actually the thing I was most excited about with winning, was being able to attend a workshop like this. So really, really pumped to be out there, meet the other writers, meet the judges, do the whole award show.
They got some great judges there. They really do have some great judges.
Jody Lanai and Robert J. Sawyer are the 2 co-instructors. So Rob's going to be here all week along with Jody teaching the thing, and then Tim will be one of the guest instructors. We'll have another 10 guest instructors for the couple of days, but it's going to be pretty cool. Any particular one of our judges that, well, obviously, like Orson Scott Card, and unfortunately, he's not traveling so much these days. But I almost had him out here. He was so close, so close. But anybody else that you're looking forward to seeing?
I don't know if she'll be out this year, but Nandi Okorafor.
Yeah, she's coming.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to meet her. I read her book, Noor. She's just absolutely amazing with the Afrofuturism genre.
Yeah.
I lived in Africa for a time. I really enjoyed African literature. And what she's doing is really taking from that tradition, merging it with science fiction in a way that's just absolutely wonderful. So I'm really excited to meet her.
I'm sure she'll enjoy meeting you too then.
Hope so.
Yeah, I mean, she was in volume 19 that she was published in. And she'll be here with her daughter, Anya, who helps her a lot, because Nettie's like a one woman force of nature. What she does, all the different projects that she does, it's just crazy. So she needs, her daughter to come in and help on the business manager side, because she's writing. She's got Marvel is always trying to get her to do more stuff in the Shuri universe, and then she's got her Binti and the Windseeker, and there's another series, and then she just last year she closed a 7-figure book deal, which she's almost done writing, and she'll be a guest on my podcast next spring to announce that book, because it's going to be, we'll be able to get a lot of also listeners there in Africa, because the Rise of Future podcast and this show here just reaches all over the world. So that'll be good. But yeah, she's an amazing woman.
Awesome. Really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Pumped even more now.
Good.
No.
And then you'll be able to meet Joe too in person.
Oh no, you don't want to do that, man. Trust me.
No,
It's
not without a couple of belts of whiskey first, sir.
That's right. That's right. You don't want to do that. I'm actually the quietest one out there doing this thing.
Yeah.
Really, I am really and truly. I am.
Right now of that.
Yeah, I get to be noisy doing the shows, but it's interesting. And I'll tell you, like I've been telling all the guests, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with this. And I got to say, so far, we're gonna be, after tonight's show, it'll be 14 of this year's winners. They already seem to be quite a bit more chatty than last year's, which is a big plus. And I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way, because it's the judges there. And if you're not going to ask them anything, you're just wasting time for being there. I mean, that's what they're there for.
And they help everybody. Yeah.
And they like to be asked questions. I mean, when they first told me that, I was like, no, y'all don't want to be pestered by these people. We're talking like 4 years ago. And, but it's not true. They want you to ask them questions. I mean, they want to help. It always amazes me to see how patient they are with all the different winners. And because, somebody asked me one time just recently, I was doing an election, they said, well, there's just a bunch of kids. I said, no. I said, believe it or not, a lot of these winners are in their 30s and 40s and stuff. I said, so these are grown people, and I said, the whole bunch of them are. And it amazes me that these judges will still take the time and say, hey, look, you need to know this, you need this. And they'll criticize in a good way. When I say criticize, is a bad word. They'll just
constructive criticism.
It's just they're just showing you, look, if you did it like this, it would be much easier, or this would help you a little better. I like to see them do that. I mean, all of them are very fair with the way they do stuff, and they want to see you leave there as a better writer or illustrator. They really do, and I got to give them credit for that. I mean, because frankly, I'd be like, leave me alone, people. At the day three, I'd be like, leave me alone.
Behind that. If you look on any of those free like Roku channels and other things where you get some of those free movies, there are some sci-fi movies out there that are just so bad. It may have been on paper a good story, a good concept, but once it goes to this, B-level actor or director, they come out really, really bad. So the more coaching you have from professionals, I mean, you got Kevin Anderson. He's wrote Dune with Brian Herbert. So you got these guys whose work has been produced in television. So if you don't take their advice and run with it, that's on you. And you're not going to go any further without these guys' help.
Yeah, I do see him give you a lot of help. Good.
So I'm curious, Jack. So what's your future as a writer? Is that going to stay an avocation, or are you trying to move it into vocational type thing, as you move down the road?
That's a great question. I think everyone dreams of doing it full time. That's definitely something I aim for. Anytime I do something or tackle a new skill, I aim to do it the absolute best I absolutely possibly can, and can't do anything second best. At the same time, I have my own career in consulting, which I do enjoy, but I want to make this a part of my life going forward as much as I can. And if it ends up taking over my primary career, awesome. If it ends up just kind of being something I do part-time, that's great too. It just depends how well the stories sell going forward.
Ashley, we see you, Danny. It's gonna be about 5 minutes, but go ahead, John.
Yeah, we've got like Hugh Howey's going to be coming out here. He's one of our new judges, and he's made that transition. I mean, he worked at bookstores. He was working at Barnes and Noble and other indie bookstores selling, and he took advantage of that to be able to write. But then as his career took off, he was able to transition out of that, and then his story sold, and he's got 2 TV series. And so now he's made that transition. Nettie made her transition. So several our judges have all made that transition to professional writing, having started from aspiration to actually making it there. So that's what the judges are definitely willing to work with you on accomplishing that.
Awesome, because that's you want the advice from the people who've done it. There's a lot of bad advice out there. There's a lot of people who say they know how to do it, but they haven't done it. But the great thing about this is it's people who have actually done it.
Yeah. Were you there last night on the release, the cover release?
Yeah, I was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So we hit 3 #1 best on Amazon so far. We've hit 3 different bestseller lists with that as soon as we did that. So that's pretty exciting.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you. You're now a #1 best-selling author.
You're in it. Yeah, your name's in that book.
I'll throw that in my bio.
That's right.
That's an advantage of Rise and Feature. We can pretty much guarantee that now every year that you can say that you're a best-selling author. Now we got 3 #1 bestseller lists, which I just posted on my Facebook page a couple hours ago.
Award-winning and best-selling are great bullet points to put on the back of every cover you write from now on.
Right, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Be sure you find you a good illustrator too, because I'll tell you, I say this many times. I have bought many books because I said, "Damn, that looks like that's going to be good."
Yeah, you buy it for the cover art, right?
So it's 50-50, but still, some of them were really good, and some of them, okay, why did I buy that book? But I know we got to get out of here because I see we all have Ashley's in the queue with us, and I can't wait to see you out there. We'll get to get into the story a little bit more when we meet next time and talk a little bit. We still don't want to give the whole story away, but we get a little bit more in depth next time we're out there.
Do you have a Facebook page or anything, or a web page that people can get to know you even better?
Yeah, I've got a website. It's jacknashstories.com. And then you can find me on formerly Twitter, X, whatever it is now.
Whatever it is.
J Nash Stories.
That's a Y.
It's a blue letter or something, or X. Or
whatever.
It's X, but you still type twitter.com into the search. I don't know.
It's very confusing.
The main name.
Yep.
I think Elon needs to put one of them neurochips in his head. Maybe he can straighten this out.
So it's Jack Nash Writer, you said?
JackNashStories.com. And Twitter, J Nash Stories.
Okay.
That pretty easy to find. So if you can't just find it, just type in Jack Nash Arthur, and I'm sure it'll come up for y'all. I love easy names, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm being honest about it. But we got to let you go. I appreciate you coming in. We have actually Ashley Cassaday joining us in just a second here. Who's actually an illustrator, I believe. So we're going to drop her in here. You can hang out with us if you want to, because we don't mind. But let me drop her.
Hey, he needs to find an illustrator, so
maybe.
Ooh,
there we go. How you doing, Ashley?
Hey, how are y'all?
Congrats on the win. I'm glad to see. I'm always happy to see people winning. I guess I'll get to see your illustration when I'm in when I get out to Los Angeles when they do, what is it, the reveal they do. I always get all these reveals confused in my head.
I'm so sorry. My dogs are freaking out.
Does he want to be on the show too? Jack?
I guess so.
Everybody needs 15 minutes of fame. Get them
Yeah,
over there.
they're like.
I apologize in advance. They're very sweet, but very vocal.
I just
chihuahuas. He's got his murdered chihuahuas.
Yeah, I just hope my chihuahuas don't hear it, because then there'll be a serenade going on back and forth.
I just booted my 90-pound 1-year-old shepherd dog out the door.
Yeah, sometimes you do.
Sorry. Hey, come
Okay, they posted his thing in the chat. Jimmy, it's jacknashstories.com, so you can find it pretty easy.
Yeah, I think I got it correct in the chat room over there.
Sorry, let me go put them in my bedroom really quick.
Good, no, good, baby, good.
So we had the just last night we had the cover reveal, and like I said, I sent you the I emailed you. I think it was too late to be able to give it to you, but that's the actual book cover itself. Nice. It was painted by Dan Dos Santos. It's it just got such amazing reviews when we had it. Were you there at the event last night, Ashley?
Hold on, I got to turn it back on. Okay.
Your mic is muted.
Yeah. There you go. You're unmuted now. You're good. You're good.
Sorry, I had to put them in my bedroom. No, I was not, but I've actually met Dan. I met him at Dragon Con last year briefly because we were both in the art show together. So I made sure to stop by because I'm a huge fan of his work. So
yeah,
it's really cool to see what he's done for the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to talk to, Tim. He's So, okay, I always ask this. This is a question that gets asked to everybody. How many times did it take you to win 1, 5, 10, 20? I always ask because it's such a different range. And the illustrators seem to be a little luckier than the authors. I should have maybe not said that out loud.
So this was my first time just submitting, honestly.
Yeah, see, you're third this week. I mean, you're the third. Oh, man.
So we had some people that had 7 or 8 times, and it's getting more and more where it takes more times to enter because the illustrator contest is growing very rapidly in the number of entries each quarter.
Right.
So you all get the same, benefit of no matter how many people have entered the contest, but the competition is getting stiffer and stiffer each year now with the illustrator contest. Echo is amazing as a coordinating judge, what she's done.
Oh yeah, it's I'm sorry, I'm looking at the cover, guys, while they were talking. This is the first time I've seen it.
It's a very cool cover, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen the cover. So this is Dan did this one?
Yeah. Okay. And then Ashley, did you go to art school?
So I did study art, but I just went to a generic college here. I went to University of Texas at Arlington, and I focused in art. Originally my path, I wanted to work in the entertainment industry, like as a concept artist for like games and movies and stuff like that. And after I graduated, that path didn't really happen. And so somehow I just feel like with a lot of teachers, I just ended up into teaching. So now currently I teach full time. I teach graphic design, illustration, but I still do a lot of my illustration stuff for the last several years. So I've done some freelance for, a couple indie authors, or I've done work for video game companies. But as the years have gone on, I've kind of just leaned into my own thing. Like I was just mentioning, I've been to Dragon Con, I go to conventions now and just, create my own stuff and sell my own work. And I find a lot of fulfillment in that. And so that's kind of where I'm at currently. So on top of juggling an educational career.
I get it. Did you see the illustrators of the booth at Dragon Con? Because we've got a booth there every year that.
I think I probably walked by it. I didn't have a chance to stop and say hi because Dragon Con's such a busy.
There's so much to see. Yeah, you
can't right next to April Sullivan, who's also
it's impossible.
Last year. But so I don't know if you know April Solomon. She was a winner, I think, last year, the year before. But she's got a booth right next to ours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not. I think the name sounds familiar, but there's so many artists. It's so funny because when I go to these conventions, the more I go, slowly, I start recognizing people over and over because even though it's such a huge community, we all kind of start running in the same circles. So, and then we connect online and stuff too. Especially when you're doing something like going to conventions and marketing yourself, everybody's connecting online and figuring out where they're going, what tips and tricks there are, things like that. So
well, that'd be good because we got about 5 past illustrator winners that exhibit at the Dragon Con in the art show.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to add to that. And then April Solomon, I guess she was last year. You had her on as a guest a couple times.
Oh yeah, she's been on. Yeah, she's
a real sweetheart. She's amazing. But she's doing she painted the art for this year's blood drive.
Oh,
Dragon Con.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So she did the dragon this year. We've had, I think Cirillo's done it. Larry Elmore's done it. So it was quite an honor that she was like so excited about that she was able to provide the dragon.
Yeah, I was going to say if you're into dragons, you would probably have seen her work because
Yeah.
I've been pestering her and Tom Wood and Larry Elmore and a couple of it's like 6 of them all together.
Dragon
we want to do a little dragon who can draw the best dragon. So it's like 3 judges against 3 students. It ought to be interesting because I mean all 6 of them are serious artists when it comes to drawing dragons.
We could do a whole show like Forged in Fire around that. Just like get 6 easels,
Well, I mean,
and, 6 painters. And just like go. You got 3 hours.
And well, I've talked to Larry, Tom, and April about it, so they're all ready for it. And then the other 3 I haven't had a chance to really get a chance to talk to, but not in a serious way. But I'll do that over the next month or 2, probably when I get back from LA. So when I get to see you in LA, it'll be a little. You got a website?
I do. It's just my name, ashleycassaday.com.
Okay.
Basically, if you Google me, it's great for SEO and also scary. I'm the first one that comes up. So
That's a good thing. You first when it comes up.
I just joke though because like I teach high school and like how high schoolers are. They're like, who's my teacher? And so it's so funny. Because, like I'm just one of their high school teachers. But then like even recently I was at an event and one of my students like was there and like he walked by my booth and he was like, what? Like my art teacher's going to like, these comic and sci-fi events and like they just don't. It's like it's just so funny because it's like they're so used to seeing me in a school setting as a teacher and then they see me in like this nerdy like pop culture space and they're just like, what's going on? So
certain parts of a school can be nerdy too. Like the only people that hang around the library are usually the nerds. So
right.
Well, what reason I was asking, because when I get to see you next time, we'll actually get to see a lot of your work. We'll actually pull it up on the computer and put it through the system so you can talk about it and, express how you came to this or how you came to that or why you drew this particular thing. It makes it easier because people can, plus it puts a record of your work on the YouTube as well, on 3 or 4 of the different YouTube channels we're on, plus on the Roku television channel. So, and we always tell everybody, these are for y'all to use. They'll be up online forever. We never take anything down.
Right.
So, so you can download them if you want them in audio. You can download them strictly in audio. You want to download them in video, they'll be on YouTube or Facebook or Roku, so you can pull them off any of those. And they're for you to use. We don't put any restrictions on on any of that stuff because it's your work. All we're doing is putting it through the system so people can take a look at it.
Right.
And I love these new systems. It's really nice that you can put your artwork on it. It's a little harder with authors because you can't really put a page up. Well, you could, but it wouldn't look right. But with illustrators, it's a lot different. You can put it. We've had a lot of good illustrators on here, including one of my favorites, Echo Chernick. She's the coordinating judge. She has some fabulous artwork. She does some oil that is just absolutely fantastic. So, what is your favorite medium?
I primarily use digital now. So, well, when I was in high school, I did do traditional and I've dabbled in acrylics and stuff like that. But I think probably with the decision on the industry at the time I wanted to go into, which was, gaming concept art, a lot of that transcended into digital. And so, and that's kind of what, I've learned to use. And I actually enjoy digital just because it's a lot less messy, but
I can see that.
There's less fumes too.
Right. Well, and it's also so versatile, just because, even though I work digitally, I still treat my process as traditionally as possible. Like if anybody's familiar with Photoshop, we have layers and stuff like that, but I try to work with as few layers as possible. I still look at oil painters, for inspiration and whatnot, because I still like the idea of blending and painting. And I try to incorporate that into my pieces a lot. So for example, when I'm at shows, people always think my work is traditional. And I'm like, no, it's digital. I just I just try to take those techniques and put them into there. Cause that's what, and again, I'm a fan of Baroque, Renaissance paintings, that kind of feel too. So having a traditional mindset while working digital allows me to kind of have some fun with it. But also I have the versatility of if I make a mistake, I can save my work or go back,
So you're very good with faces. That's a plus. Sorry, yeah. I'm on your page actually. It's,
I'm just looking at your art that's going to be in volume 40, and so I'm looking at that. So that's minimal number of layers then that you've created with that.
Usually, yeah. I mean, I still work with layers, but I try not to be super dependent. I have I know some artists, they'll be I use 500 layers, or I'm like, that is not me. Usually the way I do it is I'll work with a couple layers, and then once I get to a point where I feel like is a good like milestone, I'll smash it all down, and then I'll work on top of that, and then once I like that, it's like a rinse and repeat process. So I still have
the same way you'd make a painting. You build from the background to the middle ground to the foreground, and each time you put a vapor barrier between each layer, so it gives depth. Otherwise, you're just looking at a postcard. It's just so flat. It might as well be a pencil drawing.
Right. And like that's the other thing too, is so that way with the layers I can have the versatility of like certain effects. Like if I want to add more highlights, I can use like an overlay layer, or like actually one thing I do too that's kind of similar to oil painters is whenever I start a painting, I always usually start in black and white to get my values down. And so like oil painters, they do something similar where they do glazing, where they start in black and white and then they use very diluted pigments to start incorporating color in. And so that's kind of my process as well. So I can layer the color in there, but also too, there's that digital aspect where I can manipulate that to my will. So I usually try to, and the reason why I start with black and white first is because I really try to get all the answers for a painting laid out, whether that's like the composition or like, is the character, the main focus or something else. And then I can expand on from there because like, and this is my teacher side showing a little bit, but like I tell my students this a lot is that if your values, like your black and white values are not good in a painting, doesn't matter what colors you use, it's going to be muddy. So it's very important to have as many questions answered before you get into the rendering process, as possible. So that way you don't get into problems midway through or get to a point where you can't fix things or it makes it harder to fix things.
That painting you got there on the on my screen is on the right side where you've got that a very real background, and then you've got that person's that's like translucent. Mm-hmm. Is that like one of your? Because I've seen multiple images here that Joe's been scrolling through. Is that one of your trademark things that you do?
Which one? The one on the right there?
Yeah, where there's the girl the fairy, wherever she is, she looks more translucent and everything else looks more substantial.
Oh, yeah, that is probably, so that piece is probably my flagship piece for my last couple years. So, pre-2020, I went to a workshop and it was all about exploring like, artistic independence and kind of doing your own thing. And so that piece was one that it's based off Hades and Persephone, the Greek myth. And so originally it was going to be just Hades and Persephone together, but then I decided to do a triptych series. And that piece definitely is something that kind of broke me out of this artistic monotony that I had. Like, for example, like I said, I did freelance. I was doing a lot of freelance at the time. I was working. I was just doing art for like the goal of just creating like for, to get a job with companies or whatnot. Yeah. And then that piece was something that I truly enjoyed. And it also made me discover my love for painting like more glowy, ethereal, like fairy-like characters, like fantastical things like that. Like you can see my work has a lot of organics. I love painting flowers and trees. And that piece kind of spearheaded everything else since then. And so obviously my style has changed and, my interests change as time goes on. But, it's so funny because recently I had kind of a bit of an art block, and part of it was mainly because I was looking at that piece and I love it, but it had become such a staple to the point where I'm like, how can I hit that mark again? And that's something it's kind of scary to think about because, not every painting is one that we love. It's usually like, but you just got to get them out. And then eventually sometimes you hit the nail on the head and sometimes you don't. And it had been a little while since I'd done that in my personal opinion. So
what you did on volume 40, your image there definitely uses that technique that you did quite well. So it's very unique. I haven't seen that before. That's why I was curious if that's a trademark for Ashley.
Yeah, I love, like I said, I love playing with like I mentioned, like looking at Baroque, like, or high, like the term is like chiaroscuro, like high contrast paintings, from like the Renaissance and stuff. And so that's kind of something I like to play with in my work. So that goes back into working with the values. Like I love high contrast stuff. And also like, with her being so glowy, it's like, how can I make that work with a high contrast background, but also incorporating the elements that I want to? And, I could go on and on, but
no, it was great what you did there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
How are you inputting the figures and things? And are you just drawing in the computer with a pen, or do you start with a sketch on a paper and then scan it in? How are you?
It's all digital, so it's all hand drawn. So like I usually I'll just open up a file and just start sketching, and build from there. Like usually I try to sketch really loosely or small. And
now,
then,
when you say hand drawn, that's definition 2. Definition 1 for some of us is like you have a pencil and a piece of paper and you sketch. You say hand drawn,
and a big eraser for all the mistakes you make.
Yeah,
right.
You've got a tablet.
Well, and I have it right here. It's like it's a pen, but it's just a
it's a stylus.
It has an eraser on it too. It's just all on the computer. And I usually like to clarify that too, because especially there's so many different ways to do.
Yeah, I was going to say with the art programs, you can do something like I cannot draw. I went to art school. I failed intro to painting, and I can actually paint. I'm very good at painting. But they made me, I was there for video class. So they made me take all these drawing classes. And when I got to life drawing, you have to draw the human figure. I just couldn't do it. So I substituted architectural drawing, which I excel at. Mm-hmm. But most artists, when they draw a figure, they start with simple shapes like an oval and a trapezoid for the body. But some of these art programs, you can go up and you can grab like differently shaped nibs that can make shapes that you pick a color and it makes like an arm. Are you doing it that way? Or are you also hand drawing in all the muscle stuff? Because there's so many shortcuts you can do. And then after you put the basic big, blocky things in, you go back and clean it up, which I think takes more time.
Right. I hand draw everything, but some stuff is, hands down, I love drawing people. I love drawing characters. I think there's so much beauty that you can have in the human figure. I especially love female figures, as you can see, because there's just it's just all different sizes because the curvature and the way that the muscles move. Mm-hmm. One of my other favorite things too is not just looking at Renaissance or Baroque paintings. I love looking at Baroque sculptures, Bernini, and just seeing how the body contorts. And so obviously that stuff can be pretty difficult to do just straight from the head, so sometimes I'm able to hit it pretty well, from imagination, or sometimes I get reference. I'll either I literally have a little tripod to put my phone on, and I'll take photo reference of myself, or I'll take photo reference of someone else and bring that.
You got a school full of kids.
Yeah. You got a whole bunch of them. And then another suggestion I can have for you, especially for me, like I said, drawing human form is impossible. But to get the musculature right, you're doing very well. It might be a good idea if you haven't heard of Frank M. Netter to check out his work. He did mostly medical illustration. When you go to the doctor's office, you see those posters. If it's an ear, nose, and throat doctor, they have ear, nose, and throat, and then all the inner workings. He did that kind of work. So it helps an artist to know what's underneath the skin. To draw a muscle is pretty easy, but to draw how it looks under the skin, on top, and the different ways you ripple and move, like you're saying, if you study that kind of stuff, I think you make yourself a better and better artist.
Right. And that's another thing I tell my students a lot, especially and I understand where they're coming from because I was a closed-minded high school or college student at one point too. But, when they tell me oh, I hate biology, I'm but they love art. And I'm well, biology is part of art.
They're kind of interlocked. Yeah,
well, absolutely. And it's just so funny too, because you say you like architectural. If you ask me to paint a spaceship, forget it. I can it's just the way I work. Robots are obviously you can see I lean more fantasy based. From a concept artist perspective, for fantasy is also always usually more organic, and then sci-fi usually tends to lean more geometric, and structural,
mechanical and geometric. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I agree with you on all of those points. My medium was, when I went to school, was electronic, was video, and I have when I graduated, the school called us up years later and said, "Oh, by the way, we made you take so many classes of art history, and you elected to take so many classes of photography. You now have minors in both." So I'm like, woohoo! But I excelled at the mechanical stuff. People have told me my still lifes are extremely lifeless, and you want to hear that because oranges don't run around on a painting. But the human form, roundness, that soft stuff, landscapes, I got trees, I got building, nail it. Human form, I don't. It's how do you get around it? Because I can't do it. It's so hard. But is there a block to get past?
It's so funny. One of the big things about drawing people, and this came from someone else I heard, and I can't remember who it was, but I think we get really picky about drawing people is because there's a very specific way people are structured. Like we see people in real life, like even when it comes down to like the symmetry of the face, you know?
Mhm.
And so, you know, like with the tree, you can just draw a tree and it could not be from real life, but you know, you can make it as organic or twisted as you want. Nobody's really going to know the difference. But if you draw a person and the arms are too long or the legs are too short or the face structure's off, we're going to notice that because we as people subconsciously know how humans look in real life, unless there is something, you know, deformed about them or something like that. And so when we have that mindset of how a human should look, when we see something that doesn't look quite right, it goes into that uncanny valley kind of deal. And so people feel a little bit unsettled with looking at it because it's like, okay, even if it's stylistic, you know, like even like I remember seeing a cover for a comic and there was a female figure on the front and she was beautifully illustrated. And this was for a major publisher, but I could just see off the bat, even though she was beautifully illustrated, I noticed her legs were too long. You know, and it's like, it's again, one of those things, mindsets of like, oh, anatomically, even if someone doesn't know how to draw anatomy, we as humans know how anatomy should look. And so obviously you have to be a little bit more, you have to study it a little bit longer and understand those structural things. And that's why also too, it's important, you know, even if you want to be like a stylized cartoonist that does stuff for Disney or like something like that, you still have to understand how realistic anatomy works because it's really important to understand the complex stuff and learn that first and then go back and simplify it rather than start simply and add on because again it's those foundational things. It's like building a house. If you don't understand how the foundation of the house is built, where the structure comes from, doesn't matter how many windows or you know what kind of roof you put on top of it, it's still not going to look quite right or be built quite right. You know, so, and I mean, drawing people is hard, but I mean, I think it just comes down to like, you know, how people draw and like how their brain processes certain things. I mean, the biggest thing I can say is draw from real life. You know, and again, like I said too, it's like, I try to draw from my brain as much as possible, but there's just some points, some poses, it just doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, I have to pull out my reference. You know, if I don't, then this isn't going to look quite right. And there's no shame in that either. You know, having reference is, I mean, the most masterful of artists use reference every day for their paintings, and that's really
I agree. I think that all the greats out of necessity had to become good sculptors. That's a hard word. They were good at sculpting, so that they could they could have a sculpture of, say, you know, David in their parlor, and they need to, you know, have a guy holding a sword like this. So they just look over there. Oh, that's how that arm looks, and then boom, you're done.
Right.
They didn't have the internet like we do.
Yeah, Craig Elliott, one of our judges. He does most of the creative, most of the creative as a senior art director for. He was Netflix. I think he's now back to Disney, and he creates models. He builds the 3D sculptures of all these what you look at and you see in animated movies. He'll create all those characteristics, the swamp scene, or here's the character.
Maquettes is what you're thinking of, yeah.
What's that?
They call them maquettes, little figurines for reference to make, whether it's an animated movie or even a live action movie. Sometimes they do this, especially when they did the Star Wars, the walkers in the snow. They just made little tiny cardboard miniatures so they could, you know, figure out how to do the scene. So making those miniatures is fantastic for all the artists around who are going to be drawing those 2D.
Yeah, he actually creates them with they're ceramic. They're like they're real solid things. He doesn't do the paper ones. He does actual. It's amazing when you go to his site. He's been a guest before with me. And it's amazing what he does. Then he transfers that. He takes it then into Disney or Netflix, and they use that now as the reference for all the other artists as they create stuff.
Well, it's not just for reference of like structure too. Like I see a lot of artists, like actually one of my art friends, he's one of y'all's former winners, Alexander Gustafsson. He does maquettes too. And I know like artists, they'll do them not just for the sake of structure, but even for things like lighting reference, you know, like if you don't understand how something's lit, because obviously you could have like basic daytime lighting, but how does something look if there's something more dramatic or different colored lighting? There's another artist I know, she bought like a lamp that changes colors. And she's like, this is perfect for me to use. Like if I need to have a face lit up in blue light or red light, like there's so many pieces to it. Like I just like having those. And again, you'll never have reference that's 100% perfect for what you want. It's more so just also too, like you just, again, getting that foundation down And once you have that foundation down, you can manipulate it as much as you want. Like what I'll do too is I'll take like, like let's say I have a certain pose that I want, like I'll take a photo of myself in that pose, but maybe I don't like the hand in that position. I'll take a separate photo of my hand. And that's the beauty of digital too. I'll mash them together to where it's proportionally right and it works, So it's just really, again, answering those unanswered questions so that you go into it. Because it's actually kind of funny because it's I love coming up with ideas, but it's my least favorite part of the process because it's so laborious. Like my favorite part is once I get to the rendering, when I can play with that lighting and do all the little details, because that's when my brain turns off. And so it's just, but still, it's so important for me to do that stuff in the beginning, even if it's a lot of mental labor. So that way, again, I don't have so much trouble halfway through a painting, or I just look at it later and I'm like, oh, I totally missed this,
Right.
I'm just glad you got talent. That's all. I mean, if you see my art, you'd be like, oh my God, let's just not even go there. I was thinking when I was going through looking at your website, because I went through quite a lot of it. There's a gaming company down here that's always looking for illustrators and authors and programmers, because they came down here about, it's been about 7 years now. And they start everybody at the same rate, $100,000 a year to start and pay. And then they let you go from there and improve what you can do. I can't remember his name. He's a really famous guy, and I never can remember this guy's name. But he decided to put it down here. Well, they got what they call Silicon Valley down here. I'm sorry, Silicon Bayou down here. I'm sorry. and so that's what they call it. It's hidden back in the swamp, and they have a lot of techies up in there. And for some reason, I guess they wanted to be in the swamp. I'm not maybe they sing into the alligators. I don't know what it's about, but
we're gonna love her art then, Joe, in volume 40.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, we when we see you next time, we'll be talking about a lot of stuff we were looking at tonight. Yeah, because a lot of people got to see your art while we were talking tonight. I even put the store up in case somebody wanted to buy something. Since it was there, I figured why not. Well, hey, look, it was there. I figured why not put it up. It's just and so I mean, you ready? You ready for Los Angeles? You ready? Yeah.
Well, so here's the sad news. I will not be able to make it to Los Angeles, unfortunately.
Oh no!
I know.
Come on.
I know. I'm very sad I can't, but it's just part of teaching. So in Texas, during that time, we have unfortunately standardized testing, and so they need to we're pretty flexible with travel, but during that time, they need all teachers on deck because they're they need proctors.
It's your Black Friday.
Wait, so you teach high school in Texas is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're going to heaven for sure.
Yeah.
And
don't forget, the teenagers in Texas are bigger. So.
They are, but it's a tough job, and again,
I bet you it is.
Yeah,
I got a lot of
stressful but rewarding job. I would hope
it is because for every sad instance I have, because I will say education is hard, especially right now, but there are kids that do brighten my day. I have to remind myself, for every for the instances where days are hard, there are as many that are good. And so I have to focus on those kids. And I have, students when they discover what I do too, I tell them every day, I'm look, there's I've been in their shoes, they're more reserved and they don't know what to do. And so I'm look, there's steps that you can take to this. And I think part of it too, I'm still kind of in a weird navigational place with my career, but I do enjoy teaching them the things that a lot of art teachers don't really have the experience in. Like I said, I've worked in video game companies, I've worked for publishing, even if it's small freelance, I have that experience. Those are the things I love teaching kids, because it's those soft skills and those working with an art director skills that you don't really get, usually in those spaces. And so I like sharing that with them. And then again, too, the cases, like I said, going to conventions and stuff, I just I show them there's no such thing as a starving artist. There's just the right way to do it. And so it's nice to implement into that into them early, because, when I was in high school and I told my parents I wanted to be an artist, I'm sure they had a heart attack.
There were probably a few gasps in the room. Yeah.
Yeah. But luckily they're very supportive, but it's a weird scape right now for illustrators with a lot of stuff going on, with AI and all this stuff. But I'm still a believer that if you just keep creating and the right way to do it, I think we're going to be okay. It's just, like I said, you got to focus on the good rather than the bad. And I try to teach that to my high schoolers every single day. You know?
That's good.
So
now we're going to be at Dragon Con again. So we always have a thing where we have a book signing at our booth because they give us extra space for the winners. So I know even if you have your space there in the art show, which is a block and a half away from the mart where we're going to be, where we're set up there with all the other exhibitors. We'll have a time where you can come over and you'll be able to meet your fellow winners as well, because a lot of them will be coming to Dragon Con. And we're able to get pro badges for all the winners for the year. So you'll be able to meet several other ones that are able to come to Dragon Con. And maybe Alex sometimes keeps on trying to come down likes to come down. And, so we'll still put the invite again there for him. He's, I'm coming. And so before he says, I can't make it.
Yeah. It was funny too, because last year, because like I've done the art show for the last 2 years, and last year I was also across from another one of my friends, another winner, Bruce Bernese.
Bernese, okay,
yeah. So he's a friend of mine too, and so we were talking about all this. So like Dragon Con's just such a fun show in general. It's a madhouse, but it's like and like
even definitely that.
It's one of the last conventions that actually has a major space set up to celebrate artists. All the other conventions have kind of like lost out that the art show, so the competition to get in there is pretty stiff.
Yeah,
you know, to be able to get in there to the art show, they make it big. It's the biggest one in science fiction, besides the actual Gen Con, something like that, which is geared towards the artists.
Jimmy, if you're going to Dragon Con, you better get your butt in shape. Is all I got to tell you. Look, if you're going to stay at one building, it's no. So I made
stay in one building.
So I stayed at the Marriott I stayed at the Hilton last time, and so it's up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. You know, I'm an old guy. Up the hill, like, man, there's a golf cart around here. Up the hill again. I was like, come on.
At least you didn't do that in a Darth Vader costume.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I mean, I was in jeans and a dress shirt is all I was in.
And if you're in those hotels past like 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m., it's like, that's when it really gets like.
That's when the hoot nanny begins.
Yeah. It's funny. My first year there, like after the art show closed, like me and my friend, which like I'm very introverted. I'm like, okay, it's time to go. But like me and my friends, we would just sit and people watch. We would sit in the balcony of the Hilton and just like watch what was going on, because it's just such a fun show. Like, and I have friends.
They have some crazy people attend.
Midnight, there's usually a drum circle on the back door of the Hilton. So
it's always a lot of fun to watch. People, if you can go, if y'all can attend, you should go up there. People, it's a lot of fun. Atlanta's a good town. It doesn't really matter because you're kind of just stuck. There's what, 5 hotels, and really you're not going to really be going anywhere but those 5 hotels. You'll be too tired to go anywhere else but them damn 5 hotels.
Yeah.
Plus America's Mart, which is where the exhibits are.
So you can get all over the place, and it's really not as bad as I make it sound. I mean, it is a lot. If you're going to walk, just know you're going to get wore out. But you can Uber around for pretty cheap. And the Uber people, most of them know their way around pretty good. So the first year when I didn't Uber around, I just walked. Second year I said, So I said, I just put it to Uber on my phone, push. Man, they were like, I turned around, the Uber guys are sitting right next to me. I'm like, all right, where you going over there? Okay, let's go. 2 minutes later, I said, I like this. This is going to work out really good. And it didn't cost a lot. It was like $2-3.
Yeah.
It wasn't, no, I'm serious. People wasn't that bad. I mean, and it's easy. And they usually have 10 or 15. You'll see it when you hit the Uber button. It'll say driver within 1 minute of you. There's usually 10 or 15 drivers, right?
It's a big busy
I'll start doing that when I get old, but otherwise I'll keep on walking.
Hey, I am old, man. Like, what the hell? Anyway, we got to let an introvert.
But anyway, so Pat Henry, the owner of Dragon Con, he's going to be doing a special presentation this year at the Writers of the Future Gala.
He's an interesting character in himself. But we got to let you go, because I see we have our next guest is patiently waiting to join the rest of us crazy people up here. May is sitting all peacefully quiet down there, like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But
Ashley, I love your art. I'm so sorry I'm not going to be able to see you, but I look forward to meeting you then at Dragon Con.
I am too, but I appreciate, like, again, I'm very thankful and grateful for like the opportunity and stuff like that. And again, like, you know, like you said, there's Dragon Con, there's other instances, you know, where hopefully I'll be crossing paths with y'all. So hopefully that, especially Dragon Con, hopefully that becomes the case. So
well, I usually come up to torture John at Dragon Con. So if you're up there, we'll have to do an interview.
He shows up for the booze. Don't let him fool you.
We also exhibit at Tampa Comic Con too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If you can make it there, we can also get you a pro badge to get in.
Yeah, they've got a great setup there. I mean, they really do. Bruce, anybody can go to Dragon Con. You just got to pay your fee and go.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but you can get there.
I think I paid like anyway, it's like 126 or something. It's for 5 or how many days is it? 4 days. Anyway, it's worth the money.
Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, it's worth the money. I mean, it comes out to like $25 a day. If you cannot drive,
if you get it early, the later you pay for a badge, the more expensive it gets, and at the door even more. So, but they are always usually available.
Yeah, Joe will sell you one for $400, but that's it.
That's it. Well,
I'll sell you a good one for $400. I'll give you one of these special badges. Yeah,
the counterfeit badge, but it'll get you through the door.
Why does it say 2023 on it?
No.
That's what for.
We're time traveling badges. But really, people, if you can get up there, it's a lot of fun. I've been the last 2 years. There's a lot going on up there. It's always a lot of fun. There's always people everywhere. And yes, Bruce, they dress up like insane. It's worse than Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras people dress up insanely. No, the only real difference is down here they're naked. Down there they're not. But really and truly, everybody dresses up.
Extreme difference.
Well, you know, so this girl got arrested because she kept touching this lady's leg because she wanted to feel her jeans, right? They were painted on jeans. They were real jeans. They looked real. Don't get me wrong. When you looked at them, they looked like real jeans, but they were not real jeans. And she kept reaching and finally the woman just had enough and smacked her. I was like, oh my God, only in the city would this happen. But see, now you know what? Now, if you want to see some artists make some money, go see the ones that paint everybody down for Mardi Gras. They charge anywhere from $75 to $250 to paint somebody for Mardi Gras.
Wow.
And they're doing, they're nonstop. There's a line waiting to get painted.
They have a competition television show like Project Runway with that stuff.
They do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really? It's really neat stuff.
They do. And
I wouldn't know about that, but I'm glad you guys know about it and can tell us about it.
Yes. But look, some
it's on TV.
Some things.
PG-13.
No, that's right. It's PG-13. Well, not the stuff in the quarter.
But it's not real bad.
The stuff in the quarter is not PG-13. Stuff in the quarter is like probably XXX or something. But people, if you're under the age of 21 or under the age of 18, you don't need to see this stuff anyway.
Yeah, don't go down there.
Stay away from the French Quarter. But they do. I mean, it's insane how much. And it's not. They do it like 5 times a year because they do all kind of other festivals where everybody gets painted up. Because for some reason in the city, if you're completely painted, you can go completely naked. But if you're not, you're going to jail. Don't even ask. I have no idea how anybody gets away with this.
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, during the height of the COVID thing, there were a couple of, I don't know if they were on the internet or just being funny, but there were a couple of these idiot bloggers that did, like, airbrushed COVID masks. But it's airbrush, so there's no, like, cloth there.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sorry, you're going to have to actually put a real mask on.
Put a real one on. But Ashley, it was great talking with you tonight. I can't wait to see you. And if you get anything else or any work you want to send it, just send it along because we'll post it as we go along. Eventually, all of this will get up on the websites. But this will publish today, actually, probably within about an hour and a half. This will actually publish on YouTube and on a couple other places. So it's always there. It's always available, so you can always get hold to it. But we got to bring our other guests on because before she decides to slap Jay. By the way,
you're in charge here, sir, not me.
By the way, man, you can slap Jay. I don't personally mind. It's just one of those things, people. So anyway, let me get her up here. I don't know if it's going to let me bring her up here or not.
Again, very nice meeting you, Ashley.
Nice meeting y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
Let's see. Okay, and there's May. Hello, May. How you doing? Yay!
I'm good. How are you?
You happy? You glad you won?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Well, hey, I never know. I always ask because somebody might go, "What? What do you mean? I won what? What am I doing here?"
You're from China?
My parents are. I was born.
Yeah,
in America.
she's. You can kind of tell by the accent she's born in the U.S. It's I got a lot of friends from China and Japan.
I'm questioning is because do you speak Chinese?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, because we have a lot of Chinese media is going to be coming to the event.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
A lot of Mandarin speaking people there for the gala. It's actually a lot of really good press there for the gala all the way around. So you'll enjoy that. All very friendly press too. So
yeah,
you know that they're actually there to be friendly. There's nobody. I can honestly tell you the whole time you're there, you're not going to experience any hostile or any mean press of any kind. I'm the worst thing you'll have to deal with the whole entire time. Trust me.
And if you hear you're scheduled for an interview with Joe, just try to hide. He'll find you eventually, but
I am very sweet. So, you got websites where you keeping your artwork up, or?
Yeah, I do. I can throw it in the chat if you guys want.
Yeah, you can post it in the chat because I'll bring it up in a second because we got some time with you. It's okay. Let me grab this from over here since. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Dun, 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 dun. No, don't try to open on the same link. Yeah, what are we open then? I just got to make sure where I'm at because if I'm on anything but Google, StreamYard's not a big fan of Microsoft for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why.
Does not like the Edge browser.
Yeah, it just I don't know what that is. It's really one of the only real bad things about this particular browser. I don't know. It's one of those things that what are you going to do?
There's probably a partnership out there.
No, it probably is. It really, you know what? You're probably right.
It's a conspiracy. It's on.
It probably is.
Show, isn't it?
It's probably exactly what it is. They probably got some kind of deal with them to say, hey, you know, let's do it this way. Let's see if we can bring this up. Dun, da, da, da. Look at that. Look at that. So, wait, let's get where I can actually see the website so I know what I'm doing. So before we even get into that, what made you decide to be an artist, an illustrator?
Yeah, so I guess I've always liked art since I was really young, and I think partially because I was an only child, I like spent a lot of time just like writing stories or coming up with stories and just like hanging out like on my own, I guess. And so ever since I was young, I've had like a lot of imagination and like ideas. And so I started like drawing since I was like probably like 3 or like whatever. And then I got more serious about painting when I was around, well, I started like doing like formal like oil painting when I was like 14, 15. And I got like a lot more serious about it when I was 16, I think, because like the school district I grew up in was pretty like overachiever-esque. And so like by the time we were 16, everyone's already talking about like, oh, like what do you want to be when you grow up and stuff. So I was like, well, I really like art, but I don't know if like I'm on the right track right now to be able to do it professionally. But I like spoke to my mentor and he was like, if you really want to get serious about it, then like we can get serious about it. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So yeah, I'm 20 now. So it's been about 4 years. And that's how I got like much more serious into like developing technique and like different ideas and subjects and compositions and doing photo shoots and that sort of thing. So
that's amazing. Only 20. I mean, look, I'm freaking amazing. Well, I'm just saying, you know, usually people I hear a little bit older. So, so now you're in there. So, and then you said oil, you know, I'm a big fan of oil for some reason. I talk about this with people all the time. I'm not exactly sure why. Just for some reason, I just like it better.
It looks better. It's so cool. I mean,
oils are cool.
Our cover is oil. The one that Dan Dos Santos painted. That's
oil.
Yeah. I'm just a big fan. Oh, but what is your favorite medium? I mean, you have anything particular you like to? I mean, digital, oil, acrylic, just pencil.
Yeah, I would definitely say I like oil the most right now. I just find that like the way I really like the tactile aspect of it, like just like mixing like opaque colors to like create like really rich or vibrant colors. And then I like applying things like in layers because it allows you to like experiment with like technique and like different processes and that sort of thing. And yeah, but I also do like digital as well. I usually do digital for my less like formal work, I guess, because it's so much like faster and you can experiment like a lot more. But I think definitely like for my more like refined work and stuff I'm like most like proud of, I guess, or like want to present to people, it's definitely oil.
Yeah. Well, I see you got the faces. Now look, she's got Ashley over here. I'm just kidding. Ashley, if you're still listening, I'm just kidding. It's but you do. I mean, I'm looking at the faces. You have a really good command of faces. Of course, like I said, don't listen to me. I can't even draw stickmen. So,
well, if you heard earlier in the show, I was telling the other artist, Ashley, that I can't draw a human figure to save my life, but still life, I got him nailed to rights. Drawing an orange is real easy because they don't move too fast.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I always appreciate a good artist. I mean, it's one of those things. I was raised to appreciate art, and then I always like a good artist, and I always like someone who draws people for people. Well, what I mean is, I mean that how can I say this politely? That you really know that it's a real person you're looking at. Not necessarily somebody from real life, but they look like they're from real life.
It's called photorealism.
Yeah,
it's really hard to achieve. And oil painting is about the best way you can do that, but you have to be real strong. And she's got those chops, I can tell already.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome.
A lot of practice.
But you did say that you got your skill from being an only child and having a great imagination and just doing things on your own. That's how we learn things at the best, I think. And you shouldn't think badly of that situation. Have you ever heard of a man named Fred Rogers?
I don't think so. Maybe.
He had a little TV show you might have heard of called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He was also an only child, and he created a lot of his stories that he brought to the TV show as a child. He was alone until he was like, I think 18, and his parents adopted a daughter when he was going to college. But he invented puppets and stories and like the trolley train that you see on his show. All that stuff in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that came from his childhood, out of his mind. So keep that stuff. Don't think negative of any of that stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Grab onto that stuff. Yeah, it's all good stuff. Keep it.
No, I just wish I could draw something besides a stick, man. I'm just telling y'all up front here. I'm just being upfront about it, man.
Conclusion. That's about it.
Yes. I'm just, I got a lot of talents and a lot of things. Art is not one of them. It's, I like to look at art. I guess I could be a good critic, but
it's really not that hard, Joe. Honestly, I did go to a Bob Ross painting class today, and I painted an oil painting within 3 hours. It's not dry; it's wet as hell. It's going to take a month to dry up, but it's not real hard. It's all you need is to know how to put the paint on the canvas, on the brushes, on the knives, and how to apply it. Once you do that, it's muscle memory and practice.
So
you've been like, do you already have like a future job or future commission? Are you doing commissions, or are you gearing up towards working with other companies, or what's your game plan on what you're doing here?
Yeah. So I'm planning on, I've done like a few like portrait commissions, and I've done like a book cover as well, but I'm definitely hoping to do like a lot more of that like in the future. But my most immediate plan is after I graduate college, or maybe potentially before, I'm hoping to do it as soon as possible. I'm planning on opening like an art school, and then like having that be like a base of like income, and then like because like that'll be like part-time. At the same time, I hope to like grow my own brand and then do like independent commissions and like do book covers and that sort of thing as well. So I'm trying to do both.
Wow. Freaking wing.
I did not have a solid plan like that when I was 20. I guarantee you that. I did not have that solid of a plan.
We don't want to know my plans. Well, I'm still in the military.
Well, we know where we both fell. So
yeah, well, we don't want to know what my plans were at 20. So
where are you going to college? Are you going to an art college or just a regular?
Oh no. I'm going to Rutgers, which is in central New Jersey. I'm studying cognitive science, so it's like a blend between philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience.
Wow.
And then I'm also doing a minor in Russian literature, history, and comparative literature.
Ouch!
So, ouch! And the Russian stuff. All the rest of them.
That's a tough one. Yeah,
I like it a lot.
It's that's a curriculum that has it. Well, smart people can do it.
The contest before winning.
Sorry.
How many times did you enter the contest?
Oh, I think 2 times. Yeah.
Not bad.
I think I entered like 2 quarters before the quarter I actually won. So
I tell you what, these illustrators are making these poor authors look bad, man.
I mean, if you're good, you're good. I mean, I like I said, I went to art college. I'm looking at the stuff you're scrolling through, and a lot of that is really, really good stuff.
No, there's a lot of good work in here.
Yeah. I mean, that one especially, that is, I mean, to draw the inside of a Nautilus, that's tough.
Who's the model in this, though?
Oh, she was like someone I knew from college. She was 2 years older than me. So I met her at like a club meeting, I think, and I just thought she was like really pretty. And then I got her Instagram, and then it seems like she had experience doing like photo shoots and modeling and that sort of thing. So I felt like she would be a good job for this one. Yeah, the inspiration behind that painting is like I was trying to redo like The Birth of Venus. So, and there was like a book that I read that like it like talked about like Greek mythology, but in like a different like fictionalized like universe. And then like in that world, like the way that people perceived Aphrodite, like she's the goddess of beauty, right? But the way that everyone perceived her like varied based on like who was perceiving her, because everyone's own standard of like perfect beauty is different. So I thought the idea of having like multiples of the same goddess, like portraying that like idea of like the multiplicity of like perfection would be interesting with like the classical idea and painting as well.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a fantastic idea. There's a monster in Star Trek that's like that. The salt creature. It sends out a pheromone to the people who see it, and based on that person's, I guess, ideal of a woman, the creature appears as a different woman to each man in the show. It's a very cool idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the idea of like multiplicity of like the same concept or the same person, or like adaptation and like change, that sort of thing. So
because we're all multifaceted, so it's always good to represent that. It's you know, when just listening to what you're taking in your education shows you're very multifaceted. So I mean, what's a good thing? I mean, especially in today's society, because you know, when I was a kid growing up, being single faceted was fine. You could get away with a lot of stuff, but in today's world, not so much. Today's world, you better have a lot of education behind you. I mean, if you want to really make it in the world and make any kind of mark on the world, you need to have a good education. It's not like you know, somebody the other day I was picking on one of my friends, but 5 of the 10 billionaires in the world didn't even graduate high school. So it shows you the difference in the world then and today. That ain't going to happen today. You're not going to be a billionaire today without an education. But you know, Elon Musk kind of proves that. It's so no, I mean, you got potential, and I'd like to see some of this stuff in oil, because, like I said, I'm such a weirdo for oils. It's just, well, for me, I feel like an oil tells more of a story, and two, just the texture of it alone, because you know, when people are mixing colors or they're doing a particular thing, this paint may be just a tad bit more raised than this side over here. Or if they're drawing a particular thing or a particular tool, it may be ridged so you get a more 3D look. It's just, and you just don't really see that in other art. I mean, you do, but you don't. It's hard to explain, but you know, it's just, but it's a personal thing. I like all art anyway, so I'm not hating, but that's just my personal favorite for some reason. And I used to have a lot of oil in the house. Most of them have gotten sold now because they actually ended up worth some money. So let's just say they moved along. But we keep a lot. I mean, we have a lot of way our front living room is set up. We have 12-foot cathedral ceiling, so from floor to ceiling,
plenty of gallery space.
Yeah. But from floor to ceiling, it's 22 feet. So there's lots of places to put stuff and lots of room. And we have big, 46-inch pictures on the walls. Mostly just, basic art is what I call it. Fields, flowers, nothing, no complex scenes, I guess is what I'm saying. But very pretty. And
So May, I'm curious. So do you paint, because Joe was just talking about big wall space. Do you on your paintings that you create, are they small or are they bigger? Or because I was surprised when I toured Frank Frazetta's home, which was when it was turned into a museum. A lot of these paintings that you like, they're just amazing. They have such scope and dimension, but you look at them and they're like 10 by 12. It's like,
yeah, no, mostly my paintings, I would say like on average are like 2 by 3 feet. So I like to work.
Yeah, that's a nice painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Large scale.
Yeah. I like to be able to like get into the details.
You did that Spider-Man. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, that happens to be my favorite superhero, so I'm a little jaundiced on that one. Sorry, but yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it sold out at the first convention I went to for it, so it's cool.
Yeah, if you're going to do a sci-fi convention, you're not going to go home with that. If you bring like 20 copies, they'll be gone in the first hour.
Yeah. I had like a bunch in different sizes. I had like a display version, and like they all got sold. I was like, okay, noted.
So yeah, you know what to bring next time. Double up on the Spider-Man, lose the Hawkman.
Yeah.
So did you see the reveal last night, May?
Yeah, I was there. It was really great.
What did you think of the art?
It was really cool. I don't think I had any expectations just because, it was like a totally open prompt, but it was a really interesting image. I like that like the shapes were like very like simple, but I do like symmetry, like structural symmetry. And I always like a figure, as you can probably tell at this point, looking at my art. So I like that it was like narrative, but also a landscape, which I feel like is pretty hard to do. So yeah,
I mean, he's the best of the best out there in terms of cover artists, and he knows how to paint a painting specifically for a book cover. So he knows he's got to create space there for the title to go in and author and other copy in there. So he knows how to paint it, to lay it out like that too, which is really good.
Yeah, it was really cool. There was like a huge turnout too. Interesting, because I haven't like, I think a few of the winners like from both illustration and writing have like emailed me, but I mean it's like 3 people out of like 80 in total, so it was cool.
Yeah, and you'll see. I mean, obviously you're gonna meet everybody when you come out.
You'll do.
Which should be great. I mean, everybody at Author Services and Rising Future is obviously very anxious to meet all the winners. But the judges, definitely. Is there any particular judge or any person that you're looking forward to meeting more than others?
I'm not sure. I feel like I haven't really spent time like perusing the roster of who's gonna show up. But I definitely will like once the event gets like a lot closer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you definitely sound like you've got a life you're living right now.
Yeah, college is a lot. So
yeah, college
and also doing art is a lot. So, but it's good. College is a lot.
Well, good. Art's a good way to get out some of that stress, though. Put it, take it out of you and stick it in a picture somewhere. No, I mean, believe me or not, when I first started doing radio was good stress relief for me. Now that I own the station, not so much, but back in the day, it was good stress release. I'd tear up people or have some fun or just enjoy it in general. So, and I've got friends who do art for some form of therapeutic exercise. Really, it allows them to kind of forget the rest of the day or the rest of the world and just kind of disappear into whatever artwork they're doing, which is nice to see. Less chance he'll go crazy. So it's a good thing to see. But I was looking at it. I was looking, and the more I look at it, the more I think about Larry and Echo. I see a lot of just similarities in your work to some of theirs. So it might
Larry
be
is Larry Elmore. He's the guy that created Dungeons.
Oh yes.
And Echo Chernick is the illustrator. She's the one that did the art direction for you.
Yes, she's the big boss, and Echo is great. Don't worry, she's tough, but she is great, man. When I learned more listening to her and Dan DeSantis in a week than I probably did in 30 years of trying to figure out how to draw something. I still can't draw anything, by the way, but at least I understand how it works now.
Can you take a pencil and draw it across a piece of paper? You've just drawn a line. It's that simple, Joe.
I use a level when I do that,
Architects use tools. I like I said earlier in the show, I love architectural drawing. It's you have this big bar that goes across the table. All your lines are always straight.
And be honest with you, most lines we use chalk lines for, so we just pop a chalk line in there.
If you got to cheat, you got to cheat. But as long as it's straight.
I'm a contractor. It's tools that we use. A friend of mine says, "Well, you're a painter." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Joe," you paint whole huge buildings.
Technically, you're a painter.
It's not the same thing.
No, not really. But
wait. The best part is my goofy son. He'll start making figures while we're painting. I was like, you got to paint over that, right? It can't stay there. He'll do some graffiti. I was like, we're going to paint right over that graffiti. And but it is. I mean, it is acrylics, and at least I understand, how oil paint works and how acrylic paint and latexes all work. So at least when I'm listening to an artist, I have an understanding of what they're going through or how they're preparing things, and what's going to really change in the future. I was watching a guy. I was in Las Vegas, and he was doing what I would consider an oil, but he was doing it somehow or another. He thickened up the latex because he said he wanted to make sure this paint was going to live for 1,000 years. I said, dude, you do know. I said, there's oil paintings from way back in the day that are still here, right? He's like, yeah, but I said, whatever you want to. So he did get like the waves curled up and the white caps came over him. He did a good job with it, but it just, when you touch it, it felt rubbery. I don't know how to explain it. So when you touch, when you touch an oil after it's dried, it's got a solid touch to it. It
sort of takes on the texture of the canvas behind it. It almost has a fiber feel to it. I know what you're talking about.
It's weird, and it may be so that maybe the paint will be here in 1,000 years. I don't know why it's ugly as all hell, but still.
So May, I've got a question. So when I've talked to several of our winners over the years, when all this education and then you drop the bomb saying, "I want to be an artist when I grow up," what was their reaction?
I kind of did that like 1 month ago. So
Oh Lord! Oh man! I must have loved that.
Yeah, it kind of just happened. I think, it's kind of. I guess I kind of did like a half measure because I told my mom I wanted to open a school after I graduated or like right before I graduated, that sort of thing. And she got really worried about like insurance because if you have like your own company, you have to like buy insurance for yourself all the time instead of like a company guaranteeing it and that sort of thing. And I was like, well, like I also really like all the things I study, so maybe because like by the time I turn 26, I'll get off my parents' insurance. Like maybe when I'm 26, I'll like see where things are, and then maybe I'll go back to like grad school and then I'll like also like do the school or something. So I wasn't like I'm gonna like 100,000% like just be an artist because I do like other things and I don't want to just like spend my life doing like one thing. So
Right.
No, and you should. From personal experience, I mean, I've done many things, and trust me, I'm glad I have because I've experienced many things. Go ahead, John. Let me cut you off.
Yeah, so like, because I've just experienced before talking, especially in the girls specifically from the Middle East and from the Orient, when they say I'm going to be an artist or I want to do my art, that it's met with considerable opposition. So sometimes you're over here now more in America, so maybe that's made it a little bit more of an easier acceptance. But I know we had one winner a couple of years ago. She's doing really well now. She's at USC in school. She's, I think, a junior now. From not Iran, it's from but one of those countries there which are very fundamentalist, and everybody was just kind of like, no, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor. Even her teacher was saying no, wouldn't give her any supplies to do her art with, and so she'd have to take paper that she could scrounge and find pencils to do her art with. But she is so dedicated to it. But I was just curious because it's unfortunate, but it's understandable, but it's also unfortunate too because there's so much amazing art from the Orient that can be expressed, and there's the artistic from the Middle East is just amazing. So I was just curious how that was with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Like since I was very young, I've always been able to like do art lessons and that sort of thing. Like my mom has always supported me. And like even like when my apprenticeship started, which was like pretty serious, it was like an extracurricular basically that I was doing like multiple times a week. She still let me do it. And like even when I went to college, she was very much like you should study what you want and then figure out how to monetize it instead of like you have to like do STEM, you have to do whatever. Like she did like I think she never like really put pressure on me to like go into a specific field or anything. She always just wanted me to like do my best in like whatever situation or whatever field I was studying. So I'm very grateful for that because I know it's like not the same for like a lot of people in general.
Sure.
Well, that's good. A lot of people are stuck with whatever they decide to take, and that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And some people are afraid also when you get into the arts, like when you have a 9 to 5, you're guaranteed as long as the company stays there, you're guaranteed your paycheck every 2 weeks. And some people really like that stability. Whereas an artist is, sometimes the artist, and like when you talk to the people that you're going to be meeting at the workshop, they forewent the idea
Gigi.
of the 2 week to being able to, I'm going to create and I'm going to make it go. And there's a little bit of scariness on it, but there's also they go over how to do that as well successfully.
It's, I don't know. I say this all the time. I want all y'all to be famous and rich so I can call you and say, hey, can you remember me? Can I have a ticket? I want to come see the premiere. I know her. Look, I know her. Well, we get to meet a lot of interesting people, both illustrators and authors. And I mean, some of them already have pretty interesting careers, since I've met them, which I find interesting. But I'm always wanting all y'all to be very successful. It's just nice meeting people who are out there trying. You really sound ambitious right off the bat. There's a couple things we share in common, and John too. John can't help himself; he can't sit still. You don't believe me? Wait till you wait till you meet him. He's none of us can actually sit still.
Constantly on the move.
And then when you get to meet like Emily and Joni and all, and they're just whirlwinds. How they do what they do is beyond me. I have nothing but respect for them ladies, even though I give them nothing but trouble. That's still they are hard working. Everybody at Author Service and everybody at Writers of the Future are just, I don't know, they're all good people. Galaxy Press, a whole bunch of them are just good people, and you'll enjoy it. That they work really hard to make sure, I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about the whole group of people who work the Writers of the Future contest is, for the most part, you really don't know they're there. The judges are there, people like me are there, but you really don't know they're there unless you need something from them. I got to say, it's one of the best things about the whole thing, because I've watched them. I really need to write an article because I'll watch them, and they're there. I mean, they're everywhere, but then they're not. You just, again, unless you need them for something, they want you to be there and learn and enjoy yourself. They want you to learn and they want you to enjoy yourself all at the same time. And they work really, really, really hard to make sure that happens. And I don't give enough credit for that. I really need to give more. But anyway, it was great talking to you tonight. I can't forward to meeting you out there. And then we can get into a little bit of how you decided to draw this or draw that, or why this one looks like that, and why Thor's in there, stuff like that. I see Thor in there, so we're going to ask him about that one. And, anyway, it's been great talking to you, and I really can't wait to see you. And remember, everybody's is there for you, and even the press. You're not going to even get to experience any bad press. Everybody's really nice and works really hard, again, to make sure that you have a good time. And don't be scared to ask questions. And I'll tell you,
don't forget to edit your resume to say award-winning illustrator.
That's right.
Yeah, the book has already hit 3 bestseller lists since our release last night.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
So,
We already know
don't forget that.
You are already famous.
And if you feel like you're scared to ask somebody that you want to talk to, but you like a little shy, just come get me. I'll introduce you.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. I will. I introduce a lot of people. Actually, it's just, because they're there for you. That's what they're there for, including my good friend Echo, who always beats me up when I'm there. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She's great.
It'll be nice to you. She beats up Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she roughs me up. What can I say? But I still love her anyway. She is actually one of my favorite people. Her and Tom Wood, which are two of my favorite, and Dan are three of my favorite illustrators, because they're just a lot of fun and hardworking. I like hardworking, fun people. But anyway, we got to let you go. So I want to thank you again for hanging out with us and the nice people, John and Jay. I'm the crazy one; they're the sweet ones. As you'll find as things go along. But again, I want to thank you for coming in. We're bringing Gigi in just a second. I see Miss Gigi Hopper. I hope we're. Damn, I'm tongue-tied tonight.
Nice meeting you, May.
For a long time.
Nice to meet you, May.
All right.
Okay. And wait, it moved her on me. Hey, Gigi, how you doing?
Hey, we got the triple J on the screen.
That's right, man. We are causing trouble. We do this on the show some night. We'll change the guest name to a J name. So you better watch. So how are you today? Having a good day? Everything's good?
Yeah, it's a good day. It's a little cold up here in Oregon. It just started snowing randomly, but it's good.
Well, it's where I live. It's 81 degrees, so don't feel.
And where I live, that snow you have today is going to be here next week. So no, thank you. And
John lives out there in LA where the weather's perfect 90%.
Yeah, they don't know from snow.
I don't know snow, but it's raining. It's been raining today again. We had a lot of rain, but
yeah, we're on a 14-day raining spree coming up, so that's always fun. But hey, I'd rather the rain than the cold. So how's it feel to be a winner? You pumped? Yeah,
I'm super pumped. I wasn't I guess expecting all of this, but yeah, it's really exciting.
It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of great judges. I mean, a lot of great people there. I know you just heard what we were talking about a few minutes ago, and there's a lot of fun people there, a lot of hardworking people there, and a lot of what I like about it, especially for the illustrators, is you've got these guys who are already up there making buku money. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt about it. they're showing you how to make buku money. They're like, look, do this, this, and this, and your chances of making this kind of money go. Plus, there are other people there, like the self-publishers, who can actually sit down and help you to understand how it is, the differences between like S corps and corporations and sole proprietorships and stuff like that. Which and that comes along as you go. To me, the fact of it is that you can find all that information right there in that 1 week is a fabulous thing. And they want to tell you. So now you're in, you're ready to go. You're going to get in LA and cause some trouble. Get your work up there. Don't be scared to ask questions. Got a website?
I do. I just have collage work on there.
Well,
I definitely have to update it.
I'll torture you when you're in LA in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I'm trying to get ready for that.
Well, I mean, because it's so. When was it, or how was it? Well, I ask both. When was it, and how was it that you decided that you're going to be an artist? You said, okay. One day you were just walking along and you stroll and said, you know what? I'm going to be a famous artist one day.
Yeah. I think ever since I was little, it was, I know it's so cliche. Like ever since I was a child, I used to paint for my mom. But it wasn't until honestly,
it's only a cliche for artists. It's not a cliche for 95%, 99% of the people on earth. It's not cliche.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're a unique type of a person that can say that and do. I'm looking at your painting you did for volume 40, and it's absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
You can do that. I'm just like gobsmacked. But anyway, I cut you off there. But
no, you're fine. You're totally fine. Honestly, like I think growing up, there was this stigma that you can't do anything with art, but you're a great artist. Like I always had my mom's support. It wasn't until I served in the Marine Corps and I worked really hard, right? I served my time and I got out. And after all the chaos of military life, I decided, you know what? I could do whatever I want. I'm going to go to art school to be a graphic designer because I know they make money. Again, I should have just jumped into art and illustration where my heart was, but I didn't really have guidance. But I just remember moving back home and attending the Illinois Institute of Art Chicago and going into the comic book store and picking up The Walking Dead. And I thought, oh man, this is real. Like people actually make careers off of this stuff.
Yes, they do too.
Yeah. And I just like fell in love with like graphic novels and the artwork. And so I think my whole life I've always been an artist, but it wasn't until like in my late 20s after I served my time in the military and I actually walked into a comic.
Oh, thanks for your service, sweetie.
That's where I need to be. Yeah.
Sequential arts. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and right as I was graduating, or right after, I can't remember the time frame, they opened up a sequential arts curriculum to teach kids how to draw comic books specifically.
I wish I had
it's
access
still there.
to
It's in Savannah.
I wish I had access to that. I didn't. And even then, like I dropped out of art school and I had a really bad car accident and it changed my whole life. I became a personal trainer. And that was my life from 2015 to 2016-ish to about 2020 when I was furloughed because of the pandemic. It was in 2019 where I decided maybe I want to go back and finish my illustration degree. But even then, like when I went back to finish my illustration degree, it wasn't until my first semester that I met my professor, who was a comic book artist professional. And that's when it all came back, like, oh, the comic book world. And like that's when it opened up,
It was fated.
Yeah.
It was fated to happen.
Yep.
Is it? I mean, it's one of those things. So how many times did it take to win?
I entered, fun fact, I actually thought Illustrators of the Future was a scholarship competition. That's what they had you guys under. So I was just submitting and I submitted 3 times. 2 of the times I had like honorable mentions. And then the 3rd time was my last semester, spring semester last year. I thought, you know what? What's one more time? Yeah. And like
the worst they can say is honorable mention, right?
right. And then I got the phone call like around the time, I don't remember if it was before or after I graduated, that I got the phone call like, hey, you won. And I thought, oh, that's great. And then I'm here.
Yeah, she gets a phone call from my favorite person. It's got to be thrilling to hear her voice, come on the phone and tell you that you won.
Yeah,
there's got to be a shock factor too. I mean, because I would never, if I submitted something, whether it was writing or art, I wouldn't expect to get that phone call either.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to call her and tell her next time she calls me, say, you want a ticket here?
Yeah, you want a ticket to Los Angeles? Why? You
no,
won!
She's well, Joni is just a fabulous person. I mean,
yeah,
really,
I love her. She's so sweet.
And she is hardworking, just hardworking. She never stops. Anytime I see her, she's singing around. Last 2 years, I had to grab her by her hand and say, "Sit down and eat." I'm not kidding. She's like, whoosh, whoosh. I'm like, girl, sit down. I said, they just put a filet and a piece of salmon down here. Don't let it get cold. She's like, all right. And she took a bite and she was gone again. Then she came back. It's like a whirlwind. Came back and she's gone again. I'm like, damn, girl, sit still. She can't help herself. But that's what I'm saying. Everybody over there is just hardworking and busy, and everybody's doing a good job. And it really, when I said this earlier, they are really invisible in the fact of a staff. They're not interfering. They're not in the way. They're not bugging you unduly and stuff like that, which is really nice to see. I mean, and if you get to go to take the tour, Author Services, it's a great place. They have a beautiful office, and try to talk them and give you a cup of coffee while you're there. Shh, John just heard me.
Yeah.
They make a mean. That coffee machine makes a wicked. I've got 4 cups or 5 cups out of this machine now. That coffee machine makes some wicked coffee, man.
That's the only reason you're going back is for the coffee. Shame on you.
Yeah, coffee makes some wicked.
How do you like to? What type of techniques do you use for your painting? Or do you prefer like oil or acrylic or Photoshop or?
John, after like seeing the book reveal last night. Dan, right? Dan?
Yeah, Dan.
Oh my goodness. I've always wanted to learn oil painting. I just love the smooth transitions in oil painting. And every so often I'll, get a glimpse of something like that. And I want to do that. I would say I love traditional, like that is my preference. But, my hand was forced into the digital space. So I do a lot of work digitally only because of my environment, school, it's popular. It's easy.
Not as messy or smelly.
I guess so.
But oil paints, you get some of those thinners can really knock you out if you don't have a well ventilated area. So
yeah,
it's a more dangerous aspect.
I've been looking at like, what was it? Is it water aqua oils?
There's a thing called gouache. I think maybe that's what you're thinking of. It's a very, very vibrant watercolor.
So I know gouache. I've used gouache, but
it's my favorite color, my favorite tints. I love them.
Gouache. I've worked with gouache, but I've run into some other options for oils like open acrylics and aqua oils. Look into them.
Heard of those.
That's all I have to say. But
are those like the tempura? Those are like the tempura tints, that like the tempura paint.
No. They move and gel like oils. They're really nice. Okay. And you don't need the strong chemicals to break.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I
went to a Bob Ross painting class this afternoon. Painted one in 4 hours, 3.5 hours, and I started to try to paint it myself. But the paints I bought just to try to get my skills back. I went to Walmart and bought a couple of cheapy oil paint kits, and it's just the tints in it are just So they're not workable. They're the kind that you have to do dry painting. And I was trying to do Bob Ross wet painting. And it's just like smear. So I've got to start back from scratch. And I never was a painter. I went to art college for video programs to learn how to make movies and TV shows. And actually, John Goodwin's an actual better television producer than I am. When you get to, you'll see, because it's going to be like the Oscars. You're going to be amazed. I mean, they're going to call everybody's names up for the category.
I saw.
Yeah, you're gonna feel real. Yeah, you're gonna feel like, wow, I won this. This is awesome.
Oh, it's early this year too. It's on Thursdays, and I keep forgetting Thursday.
Looks like whole bean. They're the ones that make that that type of paint you're talking about. There is the brand, because I look on here and I just went and Googled it.
Oh, you Googled it? Yeah.
Whole bean is that's the only name I see in there doing it, but it has all the colors and the full spectrum. So
I've heard of whole bean before.
Yeah. So that's what I have because I figured, might as well, it's no chemicals, whatnot, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know how that's going.
Well, I don't know why my screen turned blue, but I'm not feeling blue, and it's not cold in here, so I'm not in any danger.
We don't use paints anymore that leave a smell in your house anymore. Matter of fact, the paints we buy to work with these days don't leave a smell and have soap built into them, so you can clean your brush and your rollers easier. It's
really, he does construction. He's got a whole construction company.
That's what it's for. But we have people that do murals for us. And so just to put this in perspective, we had a lady who painted a 12 by 12 ceiling for us. It's just a basic. It was a navigation scene. It was like a giant compass. Now the guy wanted part of it done in 18 gold leaves, so she had to roll it out and rub it on, instead of painting it on. But there was a lot of that. But all together, it took her about 2 weeks. $46,500 is what she made for it.
Wow.
So then he asked her to do a scene of the Last Supper on the back wall, and this is a big wall. I mean, this is a good 75 foot long by 20 foot tall. She did a fabulous job. You don't even want to know what she got paid for that. Even I was stunned because I get this is 2 years. I get a 10% commission on these, $144,000.
Wow.
I was like, I looked at her. I said, he went for that. She said, yeah, he did. He thought wasn't charging him enough. I'm like, you should have went over the price, girl. It's but
there's some big money to be made in large scale painting. One of my college buddies, Alan Mason, is in Atlanta. He does large scale painting. I don't know if he's for like a private company that paints buildings, or he works for the city or the county, but he paints the sides of buildings in not just red and white and purple, but graphic scenes.
It's I know, and then we get a lot of stuff where they just want you to paint like grape leaves and grapevines on the side of their windows and little chirps here and there throughout the house and stuff. And those can run good $20,000, $30,000. And I'm like, people, you can go buy them things and peel them on and stick them on your wall now, right? No, they would rather have. Well, rich people don't like any of that stuff. They want, that's what they want. Well, matter of fact, one of the guys, he wanted to put pounded copper throughout his house on his cabinets and the ceilings, and it was way too expensive. So he had a lady come in and paint it, fake it. You can't tell a difference. You cannot tell a difference. She even got it where the copper, her copper gets a little green on it and stuff. It was fabulous. I was like, damn, probably saved this guy $200,000 doing it that way. He was ecstatic. So I mean, all that kind of stuff is easy. And then I was telling, there's companies down here at Higher down in Silicon Bayou are looking for people for the gaming company down here, the new gaming company down here. They're always looking for authors and illustrators and programmers and anything they can get their hands on, because he starts them out at $100,000, but the business is there's so much competition in the gaming business these days. They're just stealing employees from each other. But all my friends who are making big money in gaming are actually living in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Americans, but it was
electronic video gaming. Yeah.
So the company said, "Look, we'll give you, if you want to stay here and work this way, we'll give you X amount of dollars. You come here, we'll double your pay." And of course,
I'm surprised that people. Well, maybe it's just me, but I don't hear enough about people being creatives in the VR space. It's wild. There is such an opportunity for illustrators to jump into that space. My husband bought me some Google, the VR Quest and whatnot, and they have like environmental creatives that create these spaces. Man, I don't understand how people don't talk about that more, because that's a big area to do.
The coordinating Judge Echo, that's how her shop is set up. So she'll show you when you're there. She's actually got the virtual reality, so you can shop through her shop in wherever the hell she's in Oregon. It's you can go shopping through her shop through the virtual. So if you've got the Sony Sony VR or the VR from Microsoft, you can just put it on and click to her shop and just go walking through and take pictures down off the wall. Yeah, it's great, and it's a great way for people, especially for Z-Geners and millennials who find this technology very easy to use. They grew up with it on their phone, so they're just going through life.
Listen, Joe, I'm going to tell you right now, as a 38-year-old woman going back to school to get my degree in illustration, these kids in art school do not want to know the tech. They refuse to learn the tech. I was like the only one in my classes that really knew the digital space. I don't know if that's going to change, but like I thought I was going to be the one that was not connected to the space. But
so Z-Geners are very funny. They want to use the tech, but they don't want to know how it actually works.
Yeah.
Now they're really good. If you ask them how to do this or get there or use this, no, they'll know all of that. But you ask them how it works. Oh no, they're looking at you like, what? You want me to do how? No, I don't know. No.
Yeah, and maybe part of the reason why you may not have seen the Z-Geners with the tech is I don't know how your school set, but at Savannah College of Art and Design, they did have different departments, and there was a separate digital art department. So kids who were, wanted to do that, they might have had to take an illustration class or two as a core class, but then when they get to the digital class, you never see them. They're all in the computer rooms all day long, doing their art.
Yeah, no, Z-Geners are they just got to grow up. We'll just leave it at that. The millennials were pretty bad. The millennials have gotten better now.
They're starting to grow up a little.
It took the millennials a little while to wake up, My son's your age. That's like, are you going to ever wake up? He's like, but Dad, I'm like, you ever going to wake up? He's like, I said, you'll be 40 in 2 years, right? He's like, but Dad, I'm like, but Dad, my ass, man. I said, it's time to get awake, man. So it took the millennials a little while, but in all fairness, it's nicer for these generations because they can spend more time at home. They can spend more time. Yeah. One, they're going to live longer. Two, they have more protection, easier to get stuff done. If they fall and screw up, there's more likely that somebody's going to be there to help them up and get going again and show them the way. So it's better for them, so they can take a little more time to learn their craft, and hopefully by doing so, they're going to be better than the generations before them. At least that's all we can hope for, What's that, Denise? What do you mean about oil? No, you speak in Greek. Speak English. English. No, I only know like 80 words in Spanish. So let's not start speaking Spanish. I know my last name's Montaldo, but let's not be speaking Spanish now.
But it's more of an Italian Montaldo.
It's both. We have both relatives on both sides, but no.
Okay.
When I was young, I could speak pretty good Spanish. Not now.
When I was in high school, I went to Spain to learn more Spanish, and I was fluent. Every Spanish person I spoke to Spanish, like, oh, you're American, I speak English. I'm like, no, that's not why I'm here.
It's like French down here. No one down here speaks real. They speak French. They speak Cajun French or Acadian French. That's not French. I learned French when I was talking to them. Like, what are y'all speaking? We're speaking French. I said, no, I'm speaking French. I don't know what the hell you're speaking. It's not French. No. It's the same thing with Spanish down here. There's real Spanish. There's real. But then there's just other language that I have no idea what the hell this is. This is just a root language from somebody's village or family that's here speaking it. It's I guess it would be I guess what would you call it? It would be like a whatchamacallit form of Spanish where there's just more
dialect.
Is it Spanglish?
It might. You know what? That might be a good way of calling it, because really and truly, it's just a lot of our. It's just a lot. Yeah, it is like the two mixed together. They'll be talking along, and then it'll be an English word, and you're like, "What?" And then they'll be going along talking English, and there'll be a Spanish word. You're like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's what it is. It's really what it is. But it is funny to listen to.
I just have one question, Gigi, because we have one of our judges, Larry Elmore. He's the guy that created a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons and Dragonlance art. But
Okay.
when he was in the military, he was tasked with doing a lot of art, a lot of illustration of the equipment they were using in, I guess, wherever he was stationed. I was just curious, did your art skills ever get tasked when you were in the Marines?
It did. I wish I would have been tasked to that type of stuff. It only once or a few times in boot camp. I painted, I don't know if you know what a campaign cover, like the hats that the drill instructors wear. They have these slips that they slip the cap into so it keeps its shape. So like I hand painted them, those, I don't know, hat shapers. We had battalion or not battalion flags, but we had training flags for when we went to the rifle range. And so I painted and designed some of those. So that was fun. But that's really about it in the military.
Yeah, well, that's who somebody in our companies who did our battalion flag. They did our graduation flag, I guess would be a better way of calling it.
Yeah.
But it was funny when he got to tech with us because we were all in there for advanced avionics. He's learning all this, and somebody found out he could draw. And I still remember he's like, "They want me to go draw stuff." He said, "I'm here to make real money." I said, "Dude, you can make real money in art, right?" He's like, "No way." So they made him go anyway. They had him drawing all kind of stuff, all kind of stuff for the base. So he got out and he said, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was supposed to be learning all this." So I said, "Why don't you go to some company and just apply?" So he had 5 years of this in the Navy, and he started showing us. Not only does this guy get a job, he got a high paying job these days. I think he makes just for the company he works with. Not when he's not working commission, he's making $250,000 a year. When they throw him in commission work, that triples or quadruples in how much money he makes. It's ridiculous how much money this guy's making. All of a sudden, he didn't think he could make any money, or he didn't want to do it.
Still complaining?
No, he's not complaining.
Okay, I hope not.
I remember while I was deployed, was it my first or second deployment? I think it was my first deployment. Yeah, my first deployment while I was in Rawa. I used to do like portraits for people to send back home. So I did a couple commissions doing that, but like
that's cool.
Yeah, just a few of them. So that was fun too.
Well, that kind of stuff is always fun, and people like to see that. And I watch these guys in the French Quarter doing portraits all the time. It amazes me how fast they are and how good they are.
Some of those character artists can whip out.
Oh man, they're like 10 minutes. Well, no, they're actually doing a portrait of the individual, and you'll see them down there, which is something you would think would take at least a couple. Oh no, man! They sketch it out and then they paint it, and then boom, you can take it with you right then and there. Most of them run around $150 to $300, depending on which artist it is. But they'll do all kind of stuff for you, and they're usually 2x3 is what they usually. They're decent size, but they make a lot of money. And then I noticed some of the tarot card readers down there had them do tarots for them. I know when Johnny did his first deck he ever did, he charged $1,500 plus 2%. Wow. This is 28 years ago. This deck is still for sale today, and it's one of their top selling decks. So he makes enough money off that deck that he didn't have to work for. But he's done many more since then. He's done weird stuff like that, and then he's done stuff for gaming companies, and it really and truly he just likes to do weird stuff. So the weirder the better for him. He'll turn down jobs that you and I might take because it's good paying and it's just it's a decent gig. Oh no, it's not weird enough for him. No. It's not weird enough. He did some artwork for that upcoming what is it? What's his name? He's one of the Marvel heroes. Who's hanging out with him? One of the X-Men. Oh, Wolverine's hanging out with him. Oh, what the hell is his name? Anyway, they got a new movie coming out. He did some of the artwork, and I don't know why I can't remember. You
made my brain lock it up too.
It's
an Australian fella.
Well, the Wolverine guy is, but the other guy is he's just a famous goofy actor.
Oh, Deadpool is
Deadpool.
That's it. Deadpool. That's it.
Yeah.
So he did some.
I thought you were trying to get the actor's name.
No, he did some of the artwork for the upcoming Deadpool movie with Wolverine in it. So and he actually got paid really well for that.
Wow.
And, he says on gigs like that. I asked him one time. He said, "Well, he said depends how much I contribute." He said, "I'll make anywhere from 150 to as high as 1.5 million. It just depends on how much or what area." See, on this, he was one of the lead artists, so he got paid pretty damn well. He was one of the concept artists, actually, is what he was. So he got paid really well. So he's been around a long time, though, and he's been drawing things. It's like Larry. I mean, I imagine Larry sneezes at a picture, makes a good chunk of cash.
If I hadn't lost all of my Dungeons and Dragons books when I moved into this new house, I would have some of his artwork still.
Yeah,
I had lots and lots of D&D books.
Yeah, well, him and I.
What was that?
Where are you going with your art now?
With my art now. Okay, so I graduated last year. So I thought, okay, what do I want to do? Last year I did a few, I did a market. I participated in, obviously, Illustrators of the Future. And I did 2 small exhibitions. One was for veterans, and then the other one was just like a 12 by 12 open theme. And then I started to get clients or people interested in like work, but it's just like different types of work. I would love to get into the graphic novels and like children's books, that type of illustration.
Yeah.
But right now, I just started my business in January, and I have someone that I'm working with right now for logo and branding. I have another client, George Fox University. They have a pantry, so I'm doing like a hand painted sign for them. And then there's another person that's in the graphic novel world. We're gonna do a story based on Deborah Sampson. She was a military woman in the American Revolutionary War. She disguised herself as a man. So we're trying to get funding for that. And I'm working on meeting with someone that's interested in like maybe a children's book series. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, if it keeps you busy, it's making you money.
So you're able to just dedicate yourself to doing that because you've got now your pension, or whatever, from the military. So you're able to cover your bases so that you can dedicate yourself to this, or?
No. So my husband is, he's also creative. He's the one that's doing the work right now. So he's allowing me the space, which is a total blessing, to, build my own business so we can both have businesses and work for ourselves. So he's been the one bringing in the income while I build whatever this is going to turn into. So yeah,
that's good. You got that ability. That's good.
Yeah.
That's always a plus.
The tough thing about art, though, especially if you're using oils and you're trying to sell oil paintings, is if you're using a dry on dry technique, you're talking 2 weeks for it to dry. You're doing a wet on wet technique, you're talking 4 weeks, 2 months for the painting to dry, depending on how much paint you stick on there. So in order to build up your stock to sell, you got to have a lot of space to paint a bunch of things, let them dry. Then when they're ready, empty that space out, then fill it with new stuff. So it's a long and involved process to get going.
Yeah, let's see. You're in Utah, so you're not that far from FanX. You're a good ways from Dragon Con, but I know you could sell quite a bit in FanX. You're in Oregon, right? Portland?
Yeah, I'm in Oregon. I've been thinking about using, I've seen this technique. I've been doing my research where people use acrylic and oil on acrylic to, work faster for that reason. So that's something that I want to tap into. I know I've done it once before in the past, but like a long time ago. So
yeah, start slow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you might have to rough the acrylic a little bit to make sure the oil sticks to it too. But yes, unfortunately, we had to learn that in big buildings. But it's still the same whether it's a big building or a campus.
The chemicals work the same no matter what kind of thing you're painting.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, it works the same thing. But you know what I have noticed is oil's done. I don't know what they used to use back 1,000 years ago, but to see those colors so brilliant today, because oils have a tendency to fade. So, I'm kind of just amazed. I know, most of them probably were never exposed to sunlight, but still, I mean, some of these things look like the day they were painted, except for the cracks in them. They
Yeah,
really
so
did.
what they would use back then is they didn't have the type of oil, they didn't have the petroleums we have. So they were using, you know, the natural oils, olive oils and linseed oils and other oils they could get from other plants, and then tinting that oil with the whatever natural products. So, you know, purple was the hardest one to get because it's like one weird sea urchin that makes the purple dye for all the paints that the masters used. So that almost all the artists, not only were they creative in making their paintings and sculptings, but they had to build their materials. They had to build their paints. They had to mix the dyes, mix the tints. So it was, you know, they weren't just painters. They were chemists. No other way to describe it.
So I know we got to let you get out of here in a minute, but so working up, getting your own business going, you're going to be getting it together. I got faith, and I'll tell you what. As somebody who owns more than one business, I ain't going to lie to you. It's a lot of hard work, but
it has been a lot
worth
of hard
it. In the end, so just how I got into business. A real quick story. I was working for a company. I just got out the military, and I was working for a company, and I was making good money, but I was looking how much they were making. I was like, shit. So I went to another company. I said, look, I'd like to bring in a crew and start doing your painting. They said, okay. So we started doing about 50 apartments a month at $100 an apartment way back when. And then I said, you know what? We can't just make it painting. So we started doing everything, which we do everything now. Well, eventually it became a lot to do, but then I was making my money. I was making way more than what I was being paid before. I had complete control over that. And when I wanted to disappear for a month, guess what? I could put one of my partners in control. One of the guys say, this is what you got to do for the next month. Don't call me unless something's burning down. I'm disappearing. Matter of fact, last time I went to see him in Phoenix, this last thing I told my partner, I said, don't call me unless something's on fire. I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. Everything else is taken care of. Don't bug me. And there's big advantages to it. I'm never going to lie to anybody saying it's not a lot of work, because it is, but it's more rewarding when it's your work.
Yeah.
You know,
I totally agree. It's been a lot, but it's I have faith it's going to work out, you know.
Just take your time, and you know, Oregon's a good city to be in to sell art. There's a lot of artsy fartsy people up there.
Oregon's a good city.
I'm sorry, Portland's a good city. Portland's a good city. So Seattle, for that matter. Both
it
of
is
them
artsy. Definitely, yeah. It's definitely artsy.
They're definitely artsy up there, and so. You know, Seattle and Portland, you can probably make some decent money. And then I got a friend of mine who used to live in Seattle. He now lives in Vancouver, and he's making he's probably making about 80,000 pounds, maybe 90,000 pounds a year up there, selling art. And but he does landscape stuff. He'll just disappear out somewhere and start painting a photo.
Well, if you're going to do landscape, Vancouver's a good place to be.
That's why he's there. Of course, he likes to send me every once in a while. He'll send me a picture of an apple, an orange, and a banana. He'll do this, and I'm like, he said, "Doesn't this look better than the last one?" I'm like, "No."
You know, I need to step away for a few minutes. So, Gigi, it's very nice meeting you. I look forward to seeing you.
We're going to get you out of here. So go ahead, John.
In a minute, John.
We'll look forward to seeing you when hopefully you got a website we can go browse around. But feel free. I mean, and if you don't, if you just got artwork you want to send me, I'll talk with you while we're there, and we can go through it, because all we're gonna do is look at a piece of art and say, okay, all right, Gigi, and why did you paint this? Like I was given May has trouble about the Thor picture. That looks like Thor to me, man. Why is Thor there? So we want to get the lowdown on that picture. But it's just stuff like that, and then and anything we use or anything we put on the YouTube pages of Facebook or Roku pages, because you're actually on Roku television right now.
And hello, Roku.
Yeah, so you're actually on TV. You're actually on real TV, not including the YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, wow. Question. I have a question.
Okay.
I have no idea what these workshops are going to be like in April, but is Dan teaching one of those workshops?
If he's there, he's teaching one. Yes.
Oh, man. That's great.
Dan's tough.
Early.
So I'm going to tell you a little secret. Both Dan and Echo are tough. But they're fair, and you're gonna know far more when you leave there than when you came in. And they do bring in live models too. So, you know, they usually have at least one live model session while they're there.
Okay.
with different types of poses and things like that.
Mhm.
But Dan is a very nice guy. He's a lot of fun to talk to, you know. And a lot of times you'll see us, him and I might be sitting at the bar drinking or having a drink or sitting in the back of it. It depends what hotel we're at this year and where we'll be sitting. But don't hesitate to come up and talk to us. And if I'm there, it's much easier. I'll say, hey, Dan, this is Gigi. I talked to her online. She's a great girl,
Mhm.
great woman, sorry. And I want you to talk to her about your art. And he has no problem with it. And the more you get to know them, the more they want to hang out with y'all. I said,
Yeah.
like you heard John talking about April. Well, April endeared herself on everybody. So April was in the midst of, she was hanging out with all the artists all the time. Anytime we'd all go wherever what we were doing, disappearing out into, Hollywood, they were with us. And so they were getting the advantage of talking to these judges after they had one or two cocktails. And it's a different conversation. And they're there. That's what they want to talk to everybody. Honestly, when you come right down to it, that's what they're really there for. They just want to, they want to help y'all out. They want to see y'all be successful. If y'all successful, they're successful. And you never know, because I have seen other ones there use talent from Writers of the Future, hire them for work for them.
Yeah.
I know 2 artists year before last got really backed up, so they hired people from the community. I mean, from the winners and helped them get caught up. So there's always gigs like that. And if you impress yourself on them, if certain things come up, they'll try to point you in the right kind of directions. It's just, I was very skeptical about this group when I first got involved with them 5 years ago. And John had to convince me. I mean, poor John, I gave him all kind of shit the first year. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I consider John a friend, but I gave him all kind of stuff the first year. And because I'm not real trusting. A lot of times when I run up on things like this, it's not what it says it is. There's a couple of ones I went to, one in Atlanta and one in DC, that they said they were all at this big bang, and get there and come to find out, they're wanting the students to pay $500 for this. And, there's all kind of money involved that students had to come up with. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And so that's not, so I'm not going to endorse stuff like this. I get behind them. I try to help and bring in as many outsiders from around the world as we can, because we have a huge overseas audience. So we try to get them in there. But like I said, just don't, feel free to talk to any of them. Dan's going to be there. Dan's a great guy to talk to. He's a lot of fun. He's hardworking, and he did this year's book. Tom Wood did last year's book. They're both friends, by the way, but Tom's not going to be there this year. But he's a hardworking gentleman.
And this has been going on for 40 years. This, before the internet, this was the networking for illustrators and sci-fi writers that are coming up.
That's so
get
cool.
get as many contacts as you can, because this is your internet. And once you get in with these people, this is how you're going to promote yourself, and it's how you're going to get new jobs.
Yeah.
It's word of mouth. You're not going to get around without. If you don't get good
You'll
word of mouth, you're not going to go anywhere. So
you'll be surprised with how many of these people you leave with as friends,
and how cool they are. I mean, Larry Elmore. Oh my God, what a cool dude!
And well, a lot of them have like illustrator groups where they all get together and meet, or author groups where they all get together and meet and talk and go over ideas and talk about job opportunities, because not everybody's looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
So some people are looking to do this kind of art, some are looking to do more commercial art, things like that. So it's interesting. But we're gonna let you get out of here, because you probably got a real life.
I'm sorry.
No, you probably have a real life that you probably have to go to.
I was able to finish editing a book, sending off to the printer, and do a new cover for it by the time I came back here. So,
yeah, see what I said? He look, getting him to stay still for 2 hours for an interview is hard enough. So somebody asked me this the other day. So what do y'all do when you see John? I said, I usually see John at breakfast. I said, we talk, and then no, we have a legit breakfast, usually half-hour breakfast or so, and then boom, I usually catch him at one of the other things later in the day. Usually after lunch, I'll see him. I'll be up in one of the classes, talking. I'll walk up and talk to him, because he does a lot of introducing people and stuff like that, and so I'll see him like that. And then usually we'll see sometimes at dinner. It depends what our schedules are, because sometimes we're both doing interviews. So it doesn't actually work out. It's that's like Tom Ashley. He said, "You're not going to Tar Pit." I said, "I got 4 interviews. I can't go to Tar Pit. I gotta go do some work, man." But it's a great. You'll have a great time. I guarantee you that you will have a great time. And
I'm looking forward to it.
And at least you don't have to do the 24-hour story, so that's already a plus.
You'll have a sequence of live drawings where they have the 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, and 20, where you can do 4 different people dress up in steampunk costumes normally, and then you do live drawings. So that's a fun part of the thing where they bring in models to do that.
Yeah, I was just telling about the models, and it's yes, and they usually have some interesting characters, and then Echo, wants them to pose in particular ways, so just to see how much talent I guess I got. I guess that what
I mean, you can't just stand there with a giant laser halberd. You have to pose menacingly. Well,
they've had some, and then one of the years they had they did what was that, an old news show? What the hell was that? Old time. Y'all did old time radio. Yeah, old
time radio as well, again on Tuesday night.
Yeah, old time radio was a lot of fun.
Radio theater. We have actors there because we have no scarcity of actors here in Hollywood, so we have a lot of.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of fun though. So, and I enjoyed the first one I got to see. So,
and that's only one workshop, and then like all the other workshops are industry stuff and
all kinds of stuff. How to do portfolio, how to present a portfolio, and then you also see some different techniques too, because you're going to find out you've got what you want to do, so you'll hear judges talk about what you're interested in, but you'll also get a good diversity of other aspects to art, like, I didn't know about that, or having ideas how I could go that route as well.
Yeah, like she was talking earlier, she wants to try to go with a mixed media of acrylic and oil. So maybe you find some artists in there who have dabbled in that and can point you in, don't use this paint, use that paint. Stay away from this brand, but get that one,
Yeah, there's just a wealth of information. You're going to get in 1 week probably what you'd have to spend a year and a half in school to get. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's amazing.
Bare minimum.
And even then, honestly, I was a little disappointed with even my figure drawing classes. Like I was looking forward to figure drawing because I want to get good at that. That is the graphic novel world.
Yeah.
And I was not impressed with the 1 or 2 classes that they gave me. So
they'll show you how to do that. Plus, at least 2 of the winners are excellent figure drawers. I've been looking at their work. I mean, excellent. So what you can't get from the judge, you can always get from one of the winners.
Yeah, you'll definitely build lifetime relationships with your fellow winners.
You'll be surprised.
I told her this is her intranet now, that she can get as many contacts as possible, because this is how she's going to promote her business, is get these people into her phone and be like, oh, hey, you need a commission? Boom, I'm ready. I'm available.
Well, plus, there's going to be at least one night of crying. And y'all still got the app, right? Yeah, they've got an app, so you can connect with everybody in the beginning.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And unless they've changed it, but they usually have an app, so you can get the app and just connect to everybody.
Okay.
That's how I keep track of a lot of what's going on, because there's a lot of stuff going on to keep track of. And you want to make sure you had all the classes. I mean, they'll break for breakfast and for lunch and for dinner, but there's always something going on somewhere. And
all you can eat in 15 minutes. We want to give you time for your lunch and for your dinner, so that's good.
Well, yes. I appreciate that.
5 minutes. You get 5 minutes for lunch, 6 minutes for dinner. That's
okay. I'm trained, military trained. 5 minutes. Let's go.
That's right. I remember many of them brown bag lunches when I was in the Navy.
Yep. They called them bag nasties in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, because that's what they were, but you would just leave that alone.
They're just recycled K-rays from the World War II era. There's no worries.
No telling what was in some of that stuff. But anyway, but they were great. When you was in a hurry or you were behind or you had something you had to go do, they were good to grab. I mean, I'm not complaining. Navy had good food most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. But anyway, that's nothing about artwork, even though they used to draw stuff when you make your eggs look funny. We're not going to go there. I'm not kidding. They had a stamp or something. They would stamp the eggs in like a cartoon pattern. I was like, and who back here is on crack, man? Every time I seen it, I was like, something's wrong with this. But anyway, Gigi, you were great. I can't wait to see you when you get out to LA. It's going to be a blast out there. You're going to have a lot of fun. You can learn a lot of stuff. And I learn something new every time I go out there with these guys. I mean, every time I'm sitting there listening to them, because I run between both the illustrators and the authors classes, and there's a lot to learn, and it's nonstop. And DeSantis teaches a good class. Everybody who's taken it, he's been out there 3 of the I think 3 of the years I've been out there, and he's serious though. I mean, he's serious about what he's doing.
Do you know if he takes mentorships? Like, I know, like I should ask him, but I'm just.
You have to ask him. I ain't speaking for Dan. He'll be smacking me in the head with something.
You're right.
We've already got enough people in that
He'll
office.
be like, Joe, you get me in trouble now.
I'm sorry. I'll just ask him myself.
But I know he does care a lot. So he's a really nice guy. He's got a big heart. So with Dan, I think it has more to do with how busy he is than anything else.
Yeah.
Sometimes he takes a little break, and then sometimes he's just nonstop. He just doesn't stop. So I know where he was last year, but that was last year, so no telling where he is this year. He might be quite a bit busier. I know he was trying to take a little vacation, but it doesn't always work out that way. When you're popular, you're only as good as your last piece of work, whatever you are in whatever business you're in. So if you decide to take any long periods of break, that can come back to haunt you later on.
Yeah.
When some little young upstart coming in, look how good I am. I charge only a quarter of what he does. But they like the masters too. But anyway, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. I look forward to see you in LA. I hope you have a good time when you're out there. And like I said, be sure to ask the judges lots and lots of questions because they like being asked questions. They really do. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell everyone thanks for listening to the Author's Quill tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. I hope y'all all had a good evening listening to all the different artists and authors we had with us tonight. Don't forget, this is 14 out of the 24 series we're doing on the winners. So y'all can go back and catch all of these shows. Some of these will be more in depth when we get to Los Angeles, so y'all can also catch those. And there are, I think Carmen and I talked about 2 or 3 judges before we get to LA. So you've got 2 more weeks or 2.5 weeks of winners, and then there's going to be 2 or 3 weeks of judges, and then we'll be in LA, and then we'll be doing interviews there. Those will be a little bit different and a little bit more specific type interviews for different people. And there are 2 people I got to wrangle while I'm there. It's going to be tough, man. Jesus. There's 2 particular people, 3 actually, I got to get to sit down for interview. This could be like rocket science. But on that note, again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio, the Author's Quill. Be sure to come check out John. Well, you can catch him on Mondays right now from 4 to 5. You can also catch him here in a rerun from 2 to 3 in the rerun mode. Eventually he'll be live here, but right now y'all can catch him in the rerun here from 2 to 3 on Saturdays. You can catch Jay on Friday night with myself on News and Flipside, and of course with Uncle Jeffrey on Friday night.
Jeffrey Pritchett starting next Friday with my next 3 Fridays in a row.
Uncle Mavis is what we like to call him. Yes, Uncle Mavis. Anyway, on that note, stay tuned for what's coming up next, and we shall see y'all. Well, I'll see y'all Wednesday. I can't tell you. John will see y'all Monday. Jay will see y'all Friday. Good show. Yes, Wednesday we're going to be talking about. Well, we're going to be talking about ufology stuff, but we're also going to be talking about idiots. On that note, good night. And see y'all then.